in Konoha. At first, I annihilated the Sarutobi clan. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 301. The wind rises. Kyanai's measures. Boom explosions. Raw beast roars. R screams. One after another. Everyone in the Hokage's office heard the sound and hurriedly looked out the window, only to see a layer of fiery red barrier outside the Hokage building. Outside the barrier, smoke filled the air. Kyanai, what are you doing? Tsunade seemed to vaguely guess Kyanai's purpose. Kyanai's figure flashed, and he was already standing in the Hokage's office. He snapped his fingers casually, and the window glass shattered instantly. The Hokage's direct Anbu in the office building heard the noise and rushed over as soon as possible. It's Fujiwara Chiya of the Akatsuki organization. Someone recognized Chiya. They drew their swords to protect Tsunade, pointing their swords at Chiya. Kyanai ignored the Anbu, smiled and said with a dramatic spirit, "The leader is coming to capture the Ninetales. My mission is to sneak into the Hokage building, trapping several high-end combat forces of Konoha and the Anbu directly under the Hokage here, so that they cannot participate in the war, and indirectly weaken the power of Konoha. Now my mission has been completed. You stay here until the Ninetales is completely captured." After that, Kyanai disappeared in the Hokage's office building. "Kyanai, you bastard, come back to me," Tsunade screamed. This time she was really angry. At this moment, she still didn't understand Kyanai's thoughts. This was not to capture the Ninetales and weaken Konoha's combat power, but to protect her wife and children. Although such behavior touched her heart, but as a Hokage of Konoha, it is inevitable to be angry. Chinatsu, Karin, Hinata, and Shizune also roughly understood Kyanai's intentions, and their faces showed worry. As for the Anbu, they were no longer worried, but were in a state of emergency. "Hokage, what should we do now?" Fujiwara Chiya has set up a barrier outside, and the Akatsuki leader named Pin is wreaking havoc everywhere. The leading Anbu asked Tsunade respectfully. "That is the Uchiha clan's fire formation, which has the defense power to counter the tailed beasts. Gather on the rooftop. Ensure contact with the outside world. Deal with Pin according to the original plan. I will summon the slug to provide comprehensive treatment for everyone. Chinatsu, Karin, Hinata, you also come with me to confirm Pin's location. Shizune will assist me on the side." At this point, Tsunade could no longer think about looking for Chiya. Even if she found him, the latter would never let them go. So she immediately issued a combat order. Yes. At this moment, everyone was excited and united. The time to truly protect Konoha has finally come. Konoha is everywhere. War is raging. Shura Road, missiles are released everywhere. The animal path summoned 3 giant centipedes. 2 Pins were responsible for fainting, destroying Konoha's buildings and attracting firepower. The human path, the hungry ghost path, the hell path, and the most powerful heaven path, as well as Konan, were responsible for capturing Konoha ninjas and interrogating them to find out about the Ninetales Jinchuriki. In the huge Konoha, the number of casualties was increasing at a visible rate. This was even when Konoha was well prepared. It was just as Pin said. In the face of overwhelming strength, all calculations would appear so pale and powerless. But gradually, Pin began to find something wrong. Looking at the entire village, there was not a single civilian in the streets and alleys. It seemed that they had received orders and retreated in advance. Not only that, the Konoha ninjas who had fought with him were also very familiar with his intelligence. Was it an illusion? Or was it because of the information Jiraiya passed on when he was dying? Konan. Pin spoke directly to Konan through the lip stud made by the black stick on his lower lip. Konan was stunned. What happened? Pin's information seems to have been exposed. It seems that the code left by Jiraiya teacher has been cracked. You go find Kyanai and let him sense, and find the Ninetales Jinchuriki. Pin said indifferently. "I know." Konan heard the seriousness of the matter, and gave the Konoha ninja who was being tortured a quick death. The paper flew and disappeared. As soon as Konan left, Kakashi, who was hiding in the dark, came out. He came to the body of a Konoha ninja who had just been killed by Konan, lowered his head to check, and frowned slightly, the ability to turn the body into paper. It seems that she is not in the information given by Tsunade-sama. It seems that it is not Pin. And it seems that she was talking to someone just now. Is it a certain Pin? Where is the Pin with the ability to resurrect in the information? With many questions, Kakashi's figure flashed and disappeared on the spot and quickly rushed to the next battle site. Kakashi did not act rashly. His mission is to kill the Pin with the ability to resurrect. Otherwise, even if the other Pins are killed, it will be useless. The key is to defeat the Pin with the ability to resurrect. Chinatsu, Karin, you keep abreast of the movements of the Pins and inform Hinata of the range. Hinata, you pay close attention to the battles of the Pins and identify the power holders. Describe their appearance and find the Pin with the ability to resurrect as soon as possible. Shizune, you are responsible for recording the information. Others, be responsible for contacting the Enbu outside the barrier. Once there is information, have them convey it to various places as soon as possible. On the rooftop of the Hokage building, Tsunade immediately assigned tasks to everyone. Sir Tsunade, do you want to leave a few behind? If you send us all out, will it be safe for you? One of the Anbu asked hesitantly. It doesn't matter. This barrier is a cage that traps us, and it is also a kind of protection. This barrier can resist the attack of the tailed beasts. With human power alone, even that Pin can't break in. You go. Tsunade said, using the summoning technique to summon the slugs outside the barrier and use the ultimate medical ninjutsu that can heal a village with the power of slugs alone. Slug Tsunade healing. Through the splitting of the slugs, Tsunade's chakra is transmitted to each injured ninja, and they are treated with palm ninjutsu. This technique. Chinatsu recognized Tsunade's technique at a glance. It requires a large consumption of chakra. If the chakra is consumed too much, it will age. In order to prevent Tsunade from aging, she quickly handed over a senzu bean. Mom, this is for you. Once the chakra is a little weak, take it quickly. Yes. Tsunade nodded and did not refuse. Although her life will not be in danger, and she does not need this life-saving thing. But as long as she has enough chakra, she can use the Slug Tsuna healing technique to treat the wounded. This can also minimize casualties. Another point is that she doesn't want to grow old in front of her daughter and Hinata, her future sister. Chapter 302, Might Guy is stabbed again. The battle is still going on. The huge Konoha is filled with smoke. On the way to find Chiya, Konan encountered several tough guys. In the original work, during the period when Pain was in Konoha, those who went on a mission were Might Guy, Yamato, Niji Hyuga, Rock Lee, and Tenten. Because of Chiya's reminder, Konoha is now in a state of full combat readiness, all tasks have been stopped, and the combat power is concentrated in the village to the maximum extent. At this moment, Konan has been blocked by these 5 people. Lee, is this the Pain in Tsunade's intelligence? It seems that he is a very strong opponent. Might Guy spoke, and took out a pair of nunchakus from his backpack. It seems that we have to show our real skills. Yes, Teacher Gay. Rock Lee nodded heavily. While the two were talking, Yamato's words poured cold water on them. No, this woman is not Pain. Take a closer look at her eyes. Tsunade-sama's information is that all 6 Pins have the Samsara eye, but the eyes of this woman are normal. Hearing this, Kay looked up and looked at Konan's pretty face. Suddenly, he realized, so that's it. This woman's eyes are normal. Teacher Kay, you really don't look at your opponent's face as usual. Niji and Tenten both had black lines on their foreheads. Just when the 5 were about to attack Konan, a black shadow suddenly appeared between them and Konan, and the ground exploded instantly. The strong wind mixed with dust made Might Guy and the other 5 subconsciously raise their arms to block their eyes. But Konan's pretty face showed a barely detectable smile. What is this? What happened? Might Guy, Yamato and the other 5 put down their arms, and suddenly, the 5 of them were stunned for a moment. A familiar figure gradually emerged from the smoke. When the smoke completely dissipated, it was Kanai. Konan, it seems that you are in trouble. These guys are not easy to deal with, especially Might Guy. If you really fight for your life, the 8 gates ninjutsu is not something you can handle. Kanai turned his back to Konan and protected the latter with only one body length between the two. Try to give Conan the greatest sense of security. Isn't it because you are here? Perhaps because Pin no longer disliked Kainai's pursuit of her, she suddenly let go a lot. But compared to the flirting of the two, Konoha was much more nervous. It seems that the barrier that trapped the Hokage should be set by Kainai. Yamato looked back at the Hokage rock, the particularly conspicuous giant fiery red barrier, and cold sweat ran down his brows. Gay, what should we do? Rock Lee, Neji, and Tenten also had their throats rolling, and their faces showing panic. Obviously, the level of the enemy has far exceeded their expectations. If it were any other time, they would have retreated without hesitation. But it was different now. Behind them was the entire Konoha. They could not retreat, nor could they. They would not hand Naruto over to Akatsuki, otherwise, Konoha would be in danger. There's no other way. In that case, Might Guy suddenly jumped in front of his 3 students and Yamato, crossed his hands, and burst into a Super Saiyan pose. 8 gates of ninjutsu. Open the 6th gate. He opened the 8 gates of ninjutsu to the 6th gate in one breath. Powerful chakra erupted from Might Guy's body, bringing up a violent gust of wind, dyeing him green. Didn't you ask, K? The guy in front of you is different from other members of the Akatsuki organization. He is Fujiwara Chiya. The dust brought up by the gust of wind made Yamato subconsciously raise his hands to block his eyes, and remind him out loud. No problem. Last time, it was just because he didn't follow the moral code of martial arts, and attacked me, before I opened the 8 gates. Might Guy was in the center of the storm, with green light radiating from his body. He gave Yamato a thumbs up, showing his silver teeth shining with white light, and was a little too proud of himself. Then be careful. Yamato's face was black. To be honest, he really couldn't stand Might Guy's train of thought. He turned his eyes to Kainai and wait. Where is Kainai? Yamato secretly said in his heart. Oh no. When he reacted, Kainai had already come behind Might Guy and hurriedly reminded him, K, be careful behind you. Unfortunately, everything was too late. Still in the same position, Kainai raised his knife and cut Might Guy's kidney with one knife. The chakra was withdrawn, the green light gradually dimmed, and the storm that was stirred up also disappeared. He looked down at the pure white blade leaking out of his abdomen, and there was still blood dripping on it. Might Guy's whole body suddenly sagged, blood oozing from the corners of his mouth, his face pale. What? When? Of course it was when you just gave Yamato a thumbs up. This time I waited for you to open the 8 gates before I started. Kainai stood behind Might Guy and casually pulled out his blade. My waist. Might Guy screamed and collapsed to the ground. Teacher K. Rock Lee, Neji, and Tenten saw this. Their pupils trembled, their eyes were bloodshot, and they rushed towards Kainai regardless of everything. Wait. Lee, Neji, Tenten. Yamato knew that the 3 of them could never be Kainai's opponents, but it was too late to stop them, so he had no choice but to rush up. The 4 of them attacked Kainai. Kainai made a symbolic seal with his right hand, and 3 big trees sprang out from the path that Rock Lee, Neji, and Tenten had to pass through, instantly binding them and performing an illusion. Then he kicked Yamato without even looking at him, and the former immediately turned into a cannonball and flew out, falling into the ruins. Let's go, the trouble has been solved. Kainai turned around, smiled and walked towards Xiaonan, holding the latter's hand. Xiaonan did not resist, her pretty face quickly covered with a layer of color, nodded slightly, and the 2 disappeared in the ruins at the same time. After the 2 left, Yamato covered his chest and crawled out of the ruins with difficulty. After checking, when he found that Might Guy was not injured, and Neji and the other 2 were just in a coma due to illusions, he couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief, and a sense of despair arose spontaneously. That Pin is already ridiculously strong. This time, with Fujiwara Kainai, can Konoha really survive this crisis? On the other hand, when Kainai had just stabbed Might Guy's waist, Kakashi finally confirmed the location of the hell. In order to ensure a one-shot kill, he chose the heart-piercing tactic he used against Kakuzu, letting several Konoha ninjas under his command faint, while he hid behind and attacked with Reikiri. However, just as he was about to hit, a huge gravitational force threw him into the sky, and then he fell heavily into the ruins. This lightning ninjutsu is the same as Kainai's, and you also have the Sharingan. You should be the copy ninja Hatake Kakashi. I have heard of your name for a long time. Kakashi crawled out of the ruins, and another figure of pain came into view. It was Shiandao. Chapter 303 Kakashi is doomed to die. Copy Ninja Hatake Kakashi, I have heard of your name for a long time. It seems that you should have analyzed my information. Was it done by the toad under Jiraiya teacher? Tendo Pain stood in front of Jigakudo, and the two Pains were one body apart. A pair of reincarnation eyes stared at Kakashi, full of oppression. Is this the Pain who has gravity and repulsion, can destroy the entire Konoha with one blow, and can create giant meteorites? Feeling the oppression brought by Tendo, even Kakashi, who was calm, couldn't help sweating at this moment. An opponent that even Kainai couldn't defeat. I'm afraid he would have no chance of winning alone. Kakashi took a deep breath, and just as he was thinking about countermeasures, a scream suddenly came from behind him. Kakashi turned around suddenly, and saw that several Konoha ninjas who were just behind him had died tragically, and were trampled on the ground. And the person who killed them was just rushing to Shirado. Kakashi secretly said in his heart that it was bad. Facing three Pains at the same time, and the most powerful one among them was Tendo. He knew that, if his companions did not come to rescue him, he would be in great danger. It's really tragic. On a giant building somewhere, Kainai couldn't help but sigh as he looked at the village below, which was destroyed by 1/3. Xiaonan replied indifferently, on the road to peace, sacrifices are inevitable. Just like Akatsuki founded by Yahiko. Because of the persecution of Danzo and Hanzo, Yahiko and many members of the first generation of Akatsuki died tragically. Now only she and Nagato are left. You are really cold. Are you recalling some bad memories again? Kainai asked casually. Xiaonan nodded slowly. She did not hide anything, and told the story of the Akatsuki organization being persecuted by Danzo and Hanzo. No wonder you hate Konoha so much. Danzo really made enemies for Konoha everywhere. Kainai pretended to be surprised. At the same time, he added in his heart, it's a pity that you don't know that the real murderer who caused the demise of the first generation of Akatsuki was neither Danzo nor Hanzo, but Obito, the old man who was used by others. Xiaonan didn't want to dwell on this matter, so he skipped the topic just now. Kainai, I need to ask you to do something for me. Is it to find the Ninetales Jinchuriki? Kainai asked back. Xiaonan nodded slowly. Pain and I searched the entire village, but we couldn't find any trace of the Ninetales Jinchuriki. Of course, because he was not in Konoha at all, but went to Mayaboki Mountain to learn fairy arts. Kainai answered, looking in another direction, where Kakashi and Pain's battle had ended. The result is not much different from the original work. If there is a difference, it is that Shirado is still alive. Kakashi killed Heldo at the cost of his life. This successfully angered Pain. Xiaonan communicated with Pain through the lip stud made of black sticks, informed him of Naruto's information in Mayaboki Mountain, and turned to Kainai and said, Kainai, Pain asked us to retreat, let's go. Is it over? Kainai knew that Pain was going to use Super Shinra Tensei to destroy Konoha, but he still looked unsatisfied and asked knowingly, yes, it's over. Now Pain has decided to go to Mayaboki Mountain. Xiaonan still concealed the fact that Pain was about to destroy Konoha. After all, it was Kainai's hometown, and she was worried that it would cause the latter's dissatisfaction. Then you can go. It's a pity that you didn't see the imagined battle. I'm going home. Kainai said, and his right hand symbolically made a seal, and disappeared from Xiaonan's sight. Looking at the place where Kainai disappeared, Xiaonan sighed helplessly. It's better to leave, otherwise it will be troublesome to conflict with Pain later. Hokage office building. Under the touch of the slug clone, she felt the lives of Konoha passing away one by one, and finally, even Kakashi died. Tsunade could no longer hide her anger, and stood up, and walked quickly to the edge of the roof. She threw a punch and instantly smashed a corner of the building. Tsunade-sama, you. Mom. Karen and Chinatsu also felt the death of Kakashi. They all showed worried expressions. At this moment, even with Chinatsu's calmness, she could not maintain her usual composure. Pain's essence is a corpse, and his mind cannot be read. And Kainai is the only one whose mind she cannot read. For the first time, Chinatsu panicked, not for Pain, but for Kainai. As a child who grew up in Konoha, she saw Konoha's familiar companions die one by one in her perception, and she was trapped in the barrier by her father, and could do nothing. Obviously, with her father's strength, he can easily deal with pain. But what is he thinking, and what is he planning? Could it be that he really hated Konoha, and was simply protecting her and the mothers? Just as Chinatsu was thinking, Hinata's voice rang out, "Everyone, look." Hinata pointed to the sky, and everyone looked in the direction of the voice, only to see Pain Tendo slowly rising into the sky. Is it finally starting? It seems that, although Konoha has reduced many casualties thanks to Pain's intelligence, it has the opposite effect of angering Pain. Looking at Tendo floating in the sky, Kainai opened the collar of his Akatsuki robe, and pulled out the mirror flower and water moon from his waist. Then his eyes turned to the deep hemp toad that was rushing outside Konoha, but it seems that there is no need for me to specially teleport that female toad to the Shinra Tensei Center. And Kakashi, it seems that he sacrificed in vain. Outside Konoha, at this time, the animal path Pain had summoned the 4 Pains except Tendo. The hell path Pain, who was killed by Kakashi at the cost of his life, came back to life, just like in the original work. After being defeated by Konohamaru, he came back to life. He was resurrected by Nagato himself through spiritual summoning. Then he was summoned by the animal path. Konan was also summoned at the same time. Where is Chiai? The animal path looked around and asked Konan. When he saw that Chiai did not follow, he went back through reverse spiritual summoning. I did not tell him that you were planning to destroy Konoha. At this point, Konan looked worried. Nagato, do you have to go this far? That will shorten your life. I will never forget Yahiko's pain. After saying that, the 5 pains fell down together. Nagato concentrated all his strength on Tendo. I always feel a bad premonition in my heart. Looking at Tendo's gradually shrinking figure in the sky, Tsunade's expression became more and more solemn, and she hurriedly urged, "Kerin, are you still not well?" At this moment, Kerin is using the diamond seal to continuously attack the Uchiha Fire Formation. PS. First update, please recommend and vote for the monthly ticket. Please subscribe. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 304, Pain Carrying Rice. I'm sorry, Lady Tsunade. The barrier set up by Chiai-sama Fujiwara Chiya is too powerful. It is completely different from the one released by the masked man at the Uchiha base. Unless Kakashi uses Kamu, otherwise. At the end, Karin's voice gradually weakened. The scene suddenly became quiet. Everyone knew that Kakashi had sacrificed himself. Just at this moment, an abrupt voice suddenly sounded. It seems that you still don't understand what's going on. The Uchiha flame formation gradually dissipated, and there was a bang. The smoke dissipated, and Chiai appeared in front of everyone. Fujiwara Chiya. The Enbu were shocked, and immediately, regardless of the difference in strength between the two sides, they all drew their swords and rushed towards Chiai. Chiai pursed his lips and smiled, and his right hand symbolically formed a seal. Countless petals floated out from Chiai's body, wrapping up the Anbu, and the Anbu fell from midair at the same time. Lost consciousness. Kainai, what are you doing? Once the Anbu fell, there were no outsiders around, and Tsunade no longer cared about it. She stepped forward with tears in her eyes, grabbed Kainai's collar, and asked angrily. At this moment, she felt that her little man was extremely unfamiliar. It would be fine if she ignored Pain's attack on Konoha. After all, he didn't owe Konoha anything. On the contrary, Kainai had secretly helped Konoha for so many years. It was understandable that they set up a barrier to prevent them from participating in the war. He wanted to protect his wife and daughter, and didn't want them to be hurt. Even if Kainai had been standing by like this, she would not have any complaints. Kainai took action to severely injure Konoha's top combat power K. If not for this, with K's 8 gates of ninjutsu support, perhaps Kakashi would not have. What am I doing? There will be an answer soon. Kainai let go of Tsunade's hand, turned around and looked in the direction of Shiandeo's departure. Follow me, as he said. Kainai flew towards the gate of Konoha. Tsunade, Chinatsu, Hinata, and Karen looked at each other for a while and followed closely. Along the way, many surviving Konoha ninjas saw their Hokage chasing the Akatsuki members. Out of their faith in the Hokage, they immediately followed closely and rushed to reinforce. A bag of rice has to bear several floors. Feel the pain. A bag of rice has to bear 2 floors. Think about the pain. A bag of rice has a lot of fatigue. Accept the pain. A bag of rice has a lot of fatigue. Understand the pain. Floating in the sky, Chiandeo kept muttering. Affected by the mirror flower and water moon, Chiandeo was gradually moving away from Konoha at this time, but he was stupidly unaware. When Kainai and the large number of Konoha ninjas behind him, led by Tsunade, arrived at the village entrance, Chiandeo was already far enough away from Konoha. It's about time. Kainai looked at the sky, smiled, and the purple cloud wings popped out from his back. With a flap of his wings, he suddenly rose into the sky, turned into a light spot, and disappeared into the sky. As he finished speaking, Chiandeo raised his hands and growled, "You have mud in your mouth. Who gave you a bag of rice? Shinra Tensing. Let the world feel pain." Shinra Tensei, in Kainai's sight, with the ground below Chiandeo as the center, the earth split from the middle and spread in all directions. Wherever it passed, everything was repelled. The strong wind carrying smoke and rubble made the people of Konoha subconsciously raise their arms to block in front of them. Seeing that the ruins were about to bury everyone, Kyangsha immediately used the fairy chakra to release a giant Kakashi version of the dog-head earth flow wall. It was nearly 50 meters high and almost parallel to the wall of Konoha. But even so, the rubble still flooded over, failed to completely block it. At the critical moment, fortunately, Karen used the diamond seal and set up a barrier, which saved the people of Konoha from being buried. At this moment, everyone was shocked. Is this the leader of the Akatsuki organization? Pain. This level of destructive power is far beyond the scope of ninjutsu. Not to mention them, even Chinatsu, who has always claimed to be a genius and almost doesn't take any ninja seriously, except her father Kainai, was shocked. The move that Pain just launched may only be seen by others, but she can see it clearly under the perception of observation. Just like a black and white picture, dozens of miles in radius, an area no less than the size of the entire Konoha was razed to the ground. No. To be precise, it was opened up, and the land within a radius of dozens of miles was opened up, leaving a huge pit hundreds of meters deep. In terms of destructive power alone, it may be no less than the Super S-level lightning escape that her father released when he was chasing Sasuke and taking care of the filial son. Karen. Tsunade was the first to react from the shock and urged Karen to untie the barrier. I know. Karen controlled the diamond chain to push away the ruins. Tsunade rushed to the top of the earth flow wall in one step. Chinatsu, Karen, Hinata and several Anbu followed closely. When they really saw the huge pit with a radius of dozens of miles, their mouths opened and could no longer close. At this moment, Tsunade finally knew what Kainai wanted to do. If Pain had released this ninjutsu in Konoha, I'm afraid the entire Konoha would not be spared. Karen quickly sensed Pain's movements. Tsunade said anxiously, "Teacher, the chakra received by Pain just now suddenly decreased by more than half. It seems that the other party needs to take a considerable risk to perform this technique." Pain is still in the air now. Without Tsunade saying anything, Karen was already sensing it. She stopped the action of making hand seals and explained the situation. Suddenly, Karen seemed to sense something and was stunned for a moment. Wait, what's wrong? Tsunade frowned and asked. Without waiting for Karen to speak, Chinatsu replied, Naruto is back. There was another person she didn't say. That was Jiraiya. Although Jiraiya's chakra was sealed by Chiya at this moment, Chiya still sensed it through her observation haki. Where is this? This was the first sentence Jiraiya said after being released by Chiya. Konoha, to be precise, the gate of Konoha. Chiya answered on the side. At this time, the two of them were standing on a huge rock, and others could not see them with the naked eye. Even with the Byakugan, it is difficult to detect without targeted exploration. Then what is this huge pit? Jiraiya widened his eyes and looked down at the endless huge pit covered by dust in front of him. It was caused by your disciple who has the Rinnegan. Kainai crossed his arms and said with a hint of amusement, Pain has come to Konoha to capture the Nine Tails. Well, he just killed a lot of people, even Kakashi was killed. Has Nagato finally come to this? Jiraiya covered his face. His tone was full of regret and self-blame. Kainai said, your other disciple Naruto is back too. He seems to have learned the fairy technique of Maiboki Mountain. He plans to avenge you. How about you? Are you interested in seeing the duel between the two children of destiny mentioned by the old toad? PS. Second update. Chapter 305 Sending Sakura to see Pain. Please subscribe. The climax of this book is coming. How could Kakashi Sensei be like this? On the dilapidated street, Sakura's pupils were dilated, and she was limp on the ground like a duck, looking at the lifeless Kakashi in front of her. The slug crawled onto Kakashi's body and tried to rescue him, but it was powerless. With a voice as light as a jade bead, she sighed softly, sorry, Sakura, I have tried my best, Kakashi has. Hearing this, Sakura's tears could no longer be held back and flowed down, dripping on the back of her hand. Her shoulders trembled slightly, and she shouted loudly, Naruto. Come quickly please, come quickly. Naruto. The last two words Naruto were wailed by Sakura with her face up. Her voice was so loud that it almost resounded throughout Konoha. The scene suddenly became quiet, and the Konoha ninjas around who had lost their friends, relatives, or partners saw Sakura wailing so miserably. They all lowered their heads in loss and despair. Tears fell like rain. At this moment, a sudden voice suddenly came to mind. Since you want Naruto to come so much, then why can't you go to his place, Sakura? If you have any problems, ask him there. If you don't have any, give him to me. Hearing this voice, Sakura felt a chill on her back. Her eyes became more and more scattered, and she felt like she was falling into an ice cellar, and an extreme sense of fear arose spontaneously. The faces of the other Konoha ninjas also suddenly became solemn, staring at the newcomers, with anger, unwillingness, and more fear and despair in their pupils. As for the slug, who was treating the wounded of Konoha, his expression was inexplicably complicated. Staring at the back of Sakura, a black shadow appeared silently behind Sakura, standing there quietly, as if it was supposed to belong there. It was a young man, who looked about 18 or 19 years old, with a regular face, dark eyebrows, thin lips, a slender body and long legs, wearing a red cloud black clothes, and a scratched Konoha forehead guard on his head. The handsome face seemed to be polished by a mountain spring in a stream. If he didn't look cold and hostile, he would be gentle and clear. Seeing this man, Sakura's psychological defenses completely collapsed. The tears of grief for the death of her companions turned into fear and despair. 4 difficult words slowly came out of her mouth. Fujiwara Chiya. Yes, the one who appeared out of thin air and stood behind Sakura was Chiya, who had just watched Senjutsu Naruto fight with Pain. No, to be precise, it was Chiya's shadow clone left in Konoha. He waited for the opportunity to teleport Sakura to Pain, was stabbed, and then let Naruto go berserk. At this time, Naruto and the Maiboki mountainside had ended the battle with Pain. Just like the original work, Naruto relied on the intelligence advantage and the unrecovered power of the heavenly path to kill all the Pains except the heavenly path. But again, the sacrifice was huge. Gamma Bunter, Gamma Hero, and Gamma were flung dozens of miles away by Pain's Shinra Tensei, their bones broken, and they were dying. Gamma Fukaza was discovered by Pain while performing the illusion that had killed 3 Pains with Gamma Fukuma, and his body was pierced by a black stick and he died. As for Naruto, he was not much better. His limbs and torso were fixed by the black stick and he could not gather chakra, let alone move. The situation was extremely critical. At Tsunade-sama, although Naruto-kun defeated 5 Pains, he was subdued by the last Pain, the one who created this huge movement in front of him. Sama Fukaza died in the battle, and the 3 big toads were seriously injured to varying degrees, and lost their ability to move. At the gate of Konoha, Hinata opened her Byakugan, watched the battle between Naruto and Pain, and reported to Tsunade one by one. Unlike the original work, because of Chiya, Hinata was still worried about Naruto, but that was only out of concern for her Konoha companions. They would not go to challenge Pain and rescue Naruto without hesitation, like in the original book. Moreover, in front of them, there was also a shadow clone of Kainai, blocking their way. Damn it. Hearing what Hinata said, Tsunade was completely anxious, and she no longer thought about Kainai's purpose. Once Naruto was captured by Akatsuki, then everything would be completely over, and the big thing would be over. Kainai, get out of my way. Tsunade looked at Kainai in the sky and said sternly. The shadow clone shook his head slowly, expressionless. Chihiro was at the side, whispering to Tsunade, "Mom, this is Kainai's shadow clone." Hearing this, Tsunade breathed a sigh of relief and whispered, "Chihiro, you and Hinata will entangle your father's shadow clone later, and I will lead Karen and the Anbu to rescue Naruto." Chihiro thought for a moment and said, "That's not a problem, but will it make Kainai angry? I always feel that Kainai will not do anything to harm Naruto and Konoha. Although Kainai doesn't like Konoha very much, he will never do anything to make mom sad." Hinata nodded in agreement and said, "Tsunade-sama, Kainai brother will not hurt everyone. I believe in Kainai-sama too." Karen's face flushed, and hot air came out of her mouth and nose, just like a crazy lover. Hearing this, Tsunade looked around, saw the changes in the three women's expressions, and looked back at the Konoha ninjas who were waiting for the Hokage's order. He let out a helpless breath. Wait 5 more minutes. If Naruto is really captured by Pain, chase him with all your strength. At all costs, we must take Naruto back. In the center of the battlefield, Naruto screamed, and Pain pierced his palms with a black stick, and stuck him upside down on the ground. "You should be more obedient now, Ninetales." Pain knelt down in front of Naruto and exclaimed, "The same ninjutsu as Jiraiya, the same ninjutsu as Kainai. It seems that you have completely surpassed Jiraiya. Ninetales, you are indeed very strong. As the first one to force Pain to such a degree, you deserve praise, but everything is over." Pain stood up and pointed at Naruto. "You are not, to be precise. The Ninetales in your body will promote peace. At that time, justice will also come." "Shut up." Naruto endured the pain of the torn muscles and broken bones in his palms, lay on the ground, gritted his teeth, and glared at Pain, and said sternly, "Who are you, and why do you do such a thing? At this point, you are still talking to me about peace and justice? What qualifications do you have to be so shameless to mess up my master, my teacher, my companions and my village?" The figures of Jiraiya, Kakashi and Choji emerged in Naruto's mind. Yes, Choji is dead too. Unlike the original story where Kakashi used Kamu to sacrifice himself to save Choji, Jigokudo died because he was facing 3 pains at the same time. But Shirado was still alive and used a missile to send him to the West. PS. First update. Please recommend and vote for me. Chapter 306. Class 7 reunites. Subscribe. Is that so? Upon hearing this, Pain was stunned, silent for a while, and suddenly asked, "Then, what is your purpose?" "I want to defeat you and bring peace to the ninja world." "Is that so? That's really an incredible ambition." Pain smiled contemptuously, turned his back to Naruto, and began to talk back. As a result, there is no doubt that Naruto, who was not yet mature in talking, fell into a disadvantage. Kainai and Jiraiya stood not far from the two of them, listening to their conversation. Kainai made an evaluation in his heart. Although Pain's words were rough, his logic was not rough. His peace theory was equivalent to the nuclear deterrence of the Blue Star in the previous life. Although it did not completely avoid the outbreak of war, it played a great deterrent role and avoided the outbreak of the Third World War. But even so, the persecuted countries are still small countries like the Rain country, becoming victims of the game between major powers. In general, Pain is too realistic. In contrast, Naruto is overly idealistic. What is relying on mutual understanding to achieve peace? Even the Blue Star is full of intrigues and deceptions. For the sake of profit, the flower-growing family cheats the flower-growing family and turns around to lick the foreign devils. Not to mention the cannibalistic world of Naruto. Thinking of this, Kainai couldn't help but smile self-deprecatingly. Why think so much? Whether the ninja world is peaceful or not is none of his business. He is just a spectator. Shaking his head with a wry smile, Kainai turned his gaze to Jiraiya on the side and asked with a smile, "What do you think?" Jiraiya half lowered his head, a breeze blew, and his scattered white hair and tattered clothes swayed rhythmically in the wind, and his eyes were covered by shadows. Take a deep breath. For a long time, Just then he spoke. I know that everything Nagato said is reality, but even if I know that the ninja world is like this, I still want to find the answer. I believe that one day, the day when people truly understand each other will come. As soon as these words came out, Naruto, who was subdued by pain, seemed to hear these words, and his eyes instantly became firm. Unfortunately, no matter how determined he was, at this moment, unless the Nine Tails went berserk, he had no chance of turning the tables. Kanai spread his hands. I have to say, you are really naive. Even if the day you said really came, it must be based on having a common enemy, just like the current Akatsuki organization. If it weren't for the appearance of Akatsuki, I'm afraid the Fourth Ninja World War would have started long ago. Once the threat of Akatsuki is gone, perhaps there will be peace for a few decades. After a while, the ninja world will return to the track of history. Just like the first generation of Hokage, as soon as he died, the first Ninja World War broke out soon after. The reason is still the sick ninja system in this world. Then, Jiraiya pondered for a moment and asked Kanai seriously, then what is your purpose? He suddenly realized that the most dangerous person was not Pain, nor was it the mask that controlled the Nine Tails to attack Konoha. It was precisely the young man in front of him. Who knows? Maybe I just want to witness the future of this ninja world, or create the future. Kanai said an ambiguous word, looking up at the sky. It's about time. As soon as the voice fell, a black shadow fell from the sky, and Jiraiya, Pain, and Naruto looked up at the same time. Sakura's limbs were swinging in the air, and she fell to the ground in an extremely funny posture. Yanching fourth period. Ah, it hurts. Sakura's voice of pain came from the smoke and dust. The wind blew, and the smoke and dust gradually dissipated, revealing Sakura's embarrassed figure. Ah, I'm fine. She slowly got up, but was surprised to find that she was fine except for the skin injuries. Just when Sakura was surprised and relieved, Naruto's voice came from her ear. Sakura, what are you doing here? Naruto? Sakura was stunned, turned around and looked, and was immediately frightened by Pain next to Naruto. Where am I? Why did I come here for no reason? I haven't seen Sasuke yet, and I don't want to die. At this moment, all kinds of thoughts flashed through Sakura's mind, and her mind was filled with the image of the two pillars. Reinforcement? A black stick fell out of Pain's right sleeve, and he held it in his hand. Sakura, run away, you can't be this guy's opponent. Seeing Sakura actually ignoring the danger to come to reinforce, Naruto was moved and urged Sakura to leave this place of trouble. Sakura swallowed hard and looked at Pain with a panic expression. She neither ran away nor reinforced. She began to weigh the pros and cons in her mind, whether to keep her life and retrieve Sasuke in the future, or to fight the enemy to the death with a great probability of death. Reinforce Naruto. You guy, did you do it? Chiya, what on earth do you want to do? Jiraiya grabbed Chiya's collar. At this moment, his chakra has been sealed by Chiya. It is impossible to rescue Naruto. At this time, Chiya sent Sakura here as cannon fodder. Did he want Naruto to watch Sakura die in Pain's hands and the Nine Tails in his body run wild? Haven't you figured it out? This is the only way for Naruto to turn the tables. I don't think you want Naruto to be captured by Pain. Kanai casually slapped Jiraiya's hand away and lightly stroked his collar. You bastard. Jiraiya left in anger, walking towards Pain, shouting, Nagato, that's enough, stop it now. However, before he could take a step, he felt a pain in his back, as if he was hit by something, and he could no longer move. Kanai's voice sounded behind him. Don't waste your energy, they can't see us, let alone hear us talking. Besides, I want to confirm something. While he was talking, there was a bang, the smoke dissipated, and second pillar appeared beside Naruto. He was wearing a hooded red cloud black robe, with a cold face. Sasuke. Naruto and Sakura were suddenly startled, and their pupils flashed with disbelief. And Pain showed an interested look, his samurai flashing, looking up and down at the second pillar. What a rare guest, Uchiha Sasuke. This should be our first formal meeting. I'm the leader of the Akatsuki organization, Pain. So, what are you doing here? Are you here to save the Nine Tails, your former companion? After saying that, a cold light flashed in Pain's eyes. No, don't get me wrong. I just heard from that guy Kanai that the Ninetales was about to be captured successfully, so I came here to take a look. I didn't expect to see other old friends besides Naruto. Second pillar said lightly. Oh, that's interesting. Pain chose to stop for the time being, but he never relaxed his vigilance against second pillar. After all, now, he is too weak. Sasuke, are you really Sasuke? Sakura wiped away her tears. The moment she saw Sasuke, her originally panicked and anxious heart suddenly calmed down. PS. Second update, please recommend on monthly votes. Chapter 307 Hiru no Sakura you're all show and no trick. Ah, the pirated Sasuke nodded. His expression was cold. Of course it's me. You are an illusion created by illusion, right? Don't try to fool me. Sakura still didn't believe it, and said seriously. Don't you have the ability to break illusions? You can tell if it's an illusion by trying it. The pirated Sasuke closed his eyes slightly, then slowly opened them, revealing a scarlet Sharingan. Sharingan. Sakura was shocked, and when she saw the Sharingan, she collapsed halfway. She tried to break the illusion again, and found that the second pillar was still the second pillar. Tears could no longer be stopped, and she walked towards the pirated Sasuke with a trembling figure, and actually threw herself into his arms and cried loudly. She kept repeating the second pillar's name in her mouth. Sasuke. Sasuke, I thought I would never see you again. The pirated Sasuke didn't say much, and let Sakura hold him like this. Everyone had different expressions. Kainai looked contemptuous. Jiraiya knew that this was Kainai's illusion and his face became more solemn. Naruto, on the other hand, showed a look of relief and satisfaction, even forgetting that he was being stabbed into a hedgehog by Pain's black stick. As for Pain, he could no longer bear to watch, and said impatiently, let's save the extra words for later. Uchiha Sasuke, can I understand that you are planning to betray the Akatsuki organization and return to Konoha? Are you here just to reminisce with this little girl? As he spoke, Pain's Samsara eyes narrowed slightly, and a dangerous and strange color burst out of his eyes. No. Pirated Sasuke shook his head and turned his eyes to Naruto. Naruto, I heard that you seem to have been chasing me. Of course, I will definitely bring you back to Konoha, because you are my brother. Naruto looked serious, even though he could not protect himself at the moment. But he was still firm. Brother? Pirated Sasuke suddenly laughed, and one of the pirated Uchiha full laughing heroes appeared in the world. Sasuke. Sakura was awakened from her long-awaited reunion by the pirated Sasuke's wild laughter, and could not help but take a few steps back. The pirated Sasuke gave her a very cold and strange feeling. After a long time, the laughter subsided, and the pirated Sasuke said in a deep voice, Naruto, you are too naive. I only have one real brother, but he was killed by your Konoha people. Uchiha Itachi. This name popped up in the minds of Pain, Naruto, Sakura, and Jiraiya at the same time. The pirated Sasuke's words that followed just confirmed their guesses. He told the whole story of the genocide of the Uchiha clan, and how Itachi died in his own hands. Of course, all this is limited to what the real second pillar knows now. For example, he did not say that Mrs. Mikoto was still alive. He only said that Kainai slaughtered the Sarutobi and Shimura clans for Uchiha Izumi and defected to Konoha. He made a different choice from Itachi. How could this happen? At this moment, everyone was shocked. Even Pain was no exception. He knew very little about the Uchiha clan extermination, only that Chiya rescued Mikoto's wife and Izumi from Itachi on the night of the extermination, and had a daughter with Mikoto. Look, this is the village you love. The Konoha you love. The pirated Sasuke spread his hands, built on the blood of the Uchiha. Sasuke. Sakura became more and more terrified, and her body trembled again. She distanced herself from the pirated Sasuke. Then she heard Najiro said, Sakura, when I left Konoha, didn't you say that you wanted me to take you with me? Well, I'll give you a chance. Kill Naruto. I'll take you away. Sasuke, Sakura's eyes were erratic, looking at Naruto, hesitant. Seeing this, the pirated Sasuke gave another convincing reason. Perhaps I didn't express it thoroughly enough. Let me put it another way. If you attack Naruto now, then I will marry you. You should know that now, in the Uchiha clan, except for the woman rescued by Fujiwara Chiya, I'm the only one left. In order to revive the Uchiha clan and rebuild the glory of the Uchiha clan, I need a woman to marry me and have children. And you are the best choice in my mind, Sakura. Get married. Sakura's face turned red at a speed visible to the naked eye, and the head was steaming. At this moment, she thought of the name of the child. If it's a girl, then she will be called Uchiha Sarada. For a boy, yes, get married. Without giving Sakura too much time to think, the pirated Sasuke actually walked behind her, put one hand around her waist, touched her arm with the other hand, reached into the kunai bag, and made a throwing motion. No, Sasuke, don't do this. The power of the pirated Sasuke was not strong. After all, it was a pirated one, just a manifestation of the hypnosis of the mirror flower and water moon. If Sakura wanted to break free, she could still do it easily even without using the strange power taught by Karen. But she didn't. She just kept refusing with her mouth, but her body was surprisingly honest. Naruto's pupils trembled slightly, and the nine-tailed fox in his body began to become restless. He couldn't believe that Sasuke, whom he regarded as a brother in the past, would want to kill him one day. The pirated Sasuke ignored her and continued to persuade her, just do it gently. Anyway, you can't defeat Pain, let alone save Naruto from him. Instead of doing that, you might as well fulfill yourself. Death is only a matter of a moment, and Naruto won't feel much pain. As long as you kill Naruto and break up with Konoha, then we can be together forever. Don't you want to be with me? Listening to this flawed rhetoric, if it were in the past, Sakura would probably know at a glance that the Sasuke next to her was fake, but at this moment, she was overjoyed by the pirated Sasuke's word marriage. Her mind went blank, and she just confirmed that it was not an illusion, so she couldn't have the slightest desire to resist. The two personalities in her mind kept arguing with each other. External personality, you can't do this. Although Naruto has a lot of bad habits, he is a companion and you can't do this. Internal personality, just kill him. If you kill him, you can be with your beloved Sasuke forever. After arguing for a while, Sakura simply gave up and let the pirated Sasuke control her. Seeing that Sakura was about to throw a kunai, Jiraiya panicked. He didn't care that he was bound by the illusion, nor did he care whether Sakura could hear him. He shouted urgently, Sakura, what are you doing? Stop it now. Don't worry, Pain won't let this woman kill Naruto. Kyuubi appeared behind Jiraiya and untied his illusion. Sure enough, at the moment when Sakura threw the kunai, Pain fired a directional Shinra Tensei with one hand and spread out the kunai casually. The Nine Tails is an important Jinchuriki, and you can't kill it. Looking at Naruto who was in danger, Jiraiya did not breathe a sigh of relief and asked impatiently, Kyuubi, what is your purpose? PS. First update, please recommend on monthly votes. Chapter 308 Sakura is finally stabbed. Nothing, just fought Tsunade and Shinatsu. I'm helping Konoha for the last time, and by the way, I want to confirm something. Kyuubi spread his hands, now you can see it. Sakura, whom Naruto has been pursuing since childhood, is just a show off. Just a show off. Jiraiya stared at Sakura in a daze. The latter's helpless look made him extremely disappointed. Now, he finally understood why Tsunade was unwilling to teach Sakura personally. A girl who disregards the life and death of her companions when slightly bewitched. The four words just a show off may be the most appropriate to describe her. Hahaha, the pirated Uchiha full laughing heroes reappeared. He let go of Sakura, looked at Naruto's confused and painful face, and said with undisguised sarcasm and ridicule, see, Naruto, this is the village you want to protect. This is the companion you want to protect. I just said a few sweet words, and she attacked you. It's really ironic. After these words came out, Sakura was stunned for a moment. It must be fake. Sasuke, who was so gentle to her just now, actually said that he was lying to her. Then herself. Thinking of this, Sakura's tears that had just stopped not long ago flowed again. But this time it was not because of the excitement of seeing Sasuke. It was because Sasuke said that he had just lied to her. Sasuke didn't want to marry her at all. Sasuke, you. Before Sakura could finish her words, the pirated Sasuke shouted, "Shut up, you are just a tool for me to confirm whether there is still anything worth staying in Konoha. Now I have confirmed it. It is better to destroy such a Konoha." The pirated Sasuke turned his eyes to Pain. "Pain, since you have successfully captured the Nine Tails, then this woman is useless. You can kill her or cut her up. Next, I plan to hunt down the remaining Konoha ninjas. Revenge for my people." After saying that, the pirated Sasuke flashed and disappeared from his sight. "Whatever you want," Pain replied indifferently. The pupils of the Samurai's gradually enlarged, and he raised his hand to point at Naruto, intending to use the Tensei Tenjin to take him away. At this time, Sakura finally reacted. She did not chase Sasuke, but punched Pain with a strange force. Boom. Pain jumped back and easily dodged. The ground where the latter was standing exploded instantly. The smoke and dust dispersed, revealing Sakura's tall figure. She said sternly, "Pain, I won't let you take Naruto away. Interesting. You just wanted to kill the Nine-Tails Jinchuriki, but now you want to protect him. Is this to atone for your sins?" Pain did not rush to act. "Sakura, you." Seeing that Sakura wanted to save him, Naruto's eyes were inexplicably complicated. Facing Pain's questioning and Naruto's complicated eyes, Sakura's eyes flashed with loneliness, and she didn't say anything. She turned her grief and shame into strength and swung her strange punch again. Target, the ground. The ground exploded again, and smoke and dust rose everywhere. Good opportunity. Taking advantage of the smoke and dust to cover the time, Sakura chose to do the same thing as Hinata in the original work. She knew that she could not be Pain's opponent. She decided to remove the black stick from Naruto and restore his freedom. But, unfortunately, she ignored the fact that the black stick was Pain's chakra receiver. The moment it touched, Pain's tensei came. Sakura screamed, flew up into the air, and then fell. I don't know what to say. After the previous farce, Pain had no good feelings towards this person who betrayed his companions. So he was ruthless when he attacked. He murmured, and the moment he landed, he took out the black stick and stabbed him. The blood gradually dyed the ground red. That's exactly what happened. My parents were killed in front of you Konoha ninjas. Pain looked at Naruto and started to carry rice. You like this woman, right? But this woman is not worthy of your love. It is because of love that sacrifices are derived, hatred is derived, and pain is known. A breeze blew, and the ground rolled up dust, which was mixed with a bloody smell. Sakura didn't get up after all. Sakura. Naruto watched Sakura fall down, without even a scream, and his brain went blank in an instant. The nine-tailed beast in his body was angry and sensed it, and his eyes turned blood red at a speed visible to the naked eye. There was a bang. The breath of terror spread in the air. The air was pushed aside by the huge force, forming a fierce gust of wind, which quickly spread out in all directions with Naruto as the center. The ground within a radius of 100 meters was like paper, torn into pieces by this terrifying force, and then completely turned into ashes under the impact of the subsequent force. Even though it was still a long distance away, the gust of wind mixed with dust still made the Konoha ninjas who were stopped by Kan Ying's clone at the gate of Konoha raise their arms to block their eyes. Those with slightly weaker strength were directly blown away. After all the storms subsided, all the ninjas who put down their arms and stabilized their bodies opened their mouths unconsciously. In the distance, a scarlet light column had risen from the huge pit with a radius of dozens of miles, rushing straight into the sky, and at the same time, the roar of the nine-tailed fox was heard. That is, the Konoha ninja who had experienced the Nine-Tails rebellion recognized the Nine-Tails. His voice trembled, his face showed fear, and he bit the word Nine-Tails for a long time, but he didn't spit it out. What happened, Hinata? Tsunade had never seen the Nine-Tails run wild, so she asked Hinata at the first time. Hinata thought for a moment, and tried to answer in a short sentence. Well, how should I put it? It's complicated to explain. Anyway, Sakura suddenly appeared on the battlefield, and then Sasuke also appeared. Sasuke wanted Sakura to kill Naruto. Sakura was held by Sasuke's hand, and threw a kunai at Naruto, but was stopped by Pain. After Sasuke disappeared, Pain planned to take Naruto away, and then Sakura wanted to save Naruto, but was knocked down by Pain. Now her life or death is unknown, and Naruto burst out the chakra of the Nine Tails. Now Pain has been successfully suppressed, and the two are moving away from the village in the opposite direction. When these words came out, everyone was stunned. What is going on? Only Chinatsu and Tsunade knew that Kainai had a deep opinion of Sakura. Not surprisingly, this was Kainai's plan. Damn it, at this time. Tsunade looked up at Kainai's shadow clone in the sky. Is this your purpose? Through Sakura, Naruto's anger was triggered, causing the Nine Tails to run wild and fight against the powerful Pain. The shadow clone still had no expression on his face. He looked back at the scarlet beam of light that shot straight into the sky, confirmed that the task assigned to him by the original body was completed, and made a seal with his right hand. He turned into smoke and disappeared from the sight of everyone in Konoha. PS. Second update. Please recommend and vote for me. Chapter 309 Weird Young Day Sister. Damn it. Tsunade gritted her teeth and immediately issued an order. Chinatsu, Hinata, while Naruto is chasing Pain away from Konoha, you come with me to rescue Sakura. Karen and Yamato be ready to seal the Nine Tails at any time. Others hurry back to the village, search for survivors, and be ready to deal with unknown dangers at any time. After saying that, Tsunade took the lead and rushed down the earth flow wall, rushing towards Sakura. Yes. The response of the Konoha ninjas came from behind Tsunade, and Karin, Chinatsu, and Hinata followed closely. Yamato, who was taking care of Kaben, heard the voice and hurriedly handed the unconscious Kaben to the medical staff next to him and followed. Tsunade's beautiful brows were tightly knitted, and while she was on her way, she was secretly annoyed in her heart. Naruto actually forced the Nine Tails to run wild. Damn it, what on earth was that guy Chiya thinking? Ahem. The smoke was filled, and an arm suddenly jumped out of the rubble, revealing Jiraiya's figure. He lay on the ground, sometimes breathing heavily, and sometimes coughing due to the smoke. Obviously, the hurricane caused by the Nine Tails chakra just now affected him. How do you feel? Kainai's voice suddenly sounded, and his figure slowly emerged from the ground, looking down at Jiraiya from a high position. Jiraiya glanced at Sakura, whose life or death was unknown, and frowned. Is this what you want to see? No, the real excitement is still to come. Kainai turned his eyes to Konoha. Tsunade and Chinatsu are coming. It seems that this woman named Sakura is lucky. Next, I plan to watch the duel between the Samurai and the Nine Tails. Are you interested? Do I have any choice? Jiraiya smiled bitterly. If he said he would stay here, Kainai would probably seal him into that life-threatening space again. Even if he stayed here, he could not help Konoha. Instead of that, he might as well go over and take a look. And he was also very curious about what fate his two disciples would experience. Not long after the two left, Tsunade and her group came over. Being in the huge pit, seeing this exaggerated destructive power, everyone was terrified. If this move was released in the center of the village, I wonder. The battle between Pain and Naruto after the Nine Tails power exploded did not last long. After the Tensei and Shinra Tensei were broken one by Naruto, who had transformed into the Nine Tails, Pain Tendao brought him to the nearest area within Nagato's safe range. He used Shibaku Tensei. Is this the power of the Rinnegan and the Nine Tails? It's really amazing, and beyond the scope of ordinary ninjas. Kainai and Jiraiya stood in the distance and watched, looking at the Shibaku Tensei in the sky that almost covered the sun, and the Nine Tails that stretched out 8 tails, and was struggling to break free. Even with Jiraiya's calmness, he couldn't help but exclaim. Of course, after all, it is the legendary Eye of the Six Paths Sage and the strongest of the nine-tailed beasts, the Nine Tails. Kainai smiled, but did not show any surprise or solemnity. For a Chibaku Tensei of this level, he only needed one knife to split it. To be honest, you should feel lucky that Pain released the Super Shinra Tensei. That was enough to destroy the entire Konoha before fighting with Naruto. Otherwise, even if Naruto really completely transformed into the Nine Tails, I'm afraid the outcome would be unpredictable. Although this is also in my plan. Your plan is to let Naruto explode the Nine Tails to fight against Pain? Jiraiya looked at Kainai with a serious face, and his tone was dissatisfied. But do you know that once the Nine Tails is fully resurrected, it will occupy Naruto's body and Naruto will die? By then Jiraiya didn't dare to think about it anymore. He didn't dare to imagine the scene of the tragedy of the Ninetales night repeating itself. And it was the Ninetales with the power of Jinchuriki. By then, I'm afraid it would really be the end of Konoha. Of course I know, this is also in my plan. Kainai did not answer but asked, and do you really think that the 4th Hokage will not leave a backup plan on Naruto? Even the key to remove the seal of the 8 diagrams was left behind. Would he not consider the possibility of the 9-tailed fox going berserk? What do you mean? Jiraiya's pupils shrank, as if he thought of something. Kainai nodded slowly, with a mysterious smile on his face. Then he added, and the 9-tailed fox is not as strong as you think. At this time, the 9-tailed fox is only one step away from complete resurrection. In the dark and dim sealed space, Naruto lay on his back in the blood, muttering words like pain. In front of Naruto, there is a huge iron door with a sealing talisman attached, and the 9-tailed fox is imprisoned in the iron door. It keeps bewitching Naruto. Under the bewitching of the 9-tailed fox, Naruto's eyes turned blood red, and the seal on his abdomen dissipated, turning into black ink and flowing out of the sealed space. He slowly walked towards the iron door, where the talisman was posted. Just as he was about to make his move, the chakra of the 4th Hokage, who was sealed into Naruto's body along with the 9-tails, appeared. The 4th Hokage stopped Naruto. Poor 9-tails, who had been professionally picking locks for 16 years, was suddenly back to the days before liberation. It uttered an unwilling rage. 4th Hokage, you are the 4th Hokage. Looking at the strange man who suddenly appeared in front of him, and the words 4th Hokage on the back of the white Hokage robe, Naruto lost his voice in horror. Naruto, once the seal of the 8-tails is lifted, I will appear in your consciousness space. Although I don't want to see this happen. Because I don't want to see the 9-tails again. The 4th Hokage looked at the 9-tails barking helplessly in the cage, and ignored it, just explaining to Naruto himself. Then he seemed to think of something, sighed softly, turned around and looked at Naruto, with a smile of joy and relief on his face. But it is a mixture of joy and sorrow, to see my son grow up. Son. Naruto was stunned, and before he could react from the shock, he pointed at himself and asked uncertainly, son? Me? And how do you know my name? Ah, Naruto, you are my son, and your name is naturally given by me, taken from the protagonist of Jiraiya's novel. The 4th Hokage smiled and nodded. Naruto was stunned again. He lost his parents when he was young, and didn't know what family affection was. He didn't know how to respond for a moment, and tears could no longer be stopped. At this time, the angry roar of the 9-tailed fox came from the sealed cage. 4th Hokage, come here, I'm going to tear you to pieces. You want to tear me to pieces, but you can't. The 4th Hokage tilted his head and replied to the 9-tailed fox with a very infuriating word, then looked at Naruto again, with a gentle smile on his face. This is not the place to talk, let's go to another place. As he spoke, the 4th Hokage casually snapped his little finger, and the dark and bloody sealed space disappeared, replaced by a peaceful world full of warm sunshine. Chapter 310, Ending. The 4th Hokage continued, it seems that the 3rd really didn't say anything about the information about the 9-tails, perhaps. Before he could finish his words, Naruto punched him. The 4th Hokage's face flashed with pain. Naruto's punch dissipated most of his already limited chakra, but it didn't matter. After death, he was already very satisfied to see his son again. Why did you seal the 9-tails in your son's body? Thanks to you, I have been looked down upon since I was a child. For this, I practiced hard, and then met Brother Kainai, Sensei Iruka, Sensei Kakashi and the lecherous sage. I'm very happy that someone recognizes me and can become stronger. But Brother Kainai left and joined Akatsuki, and Sensei Kakashi and the lecherous sage were also killed by Pain, the leader of the Akatsuki organization. I can't tell what to say anymore. Naruto cried and told the grievances he had suffered over the years. Is that so? When he heard Kainai's name, the 4th Hokage was stunned for a moment, and his face regained a smile, as if in spring breeze. It seems that you have suffered a lot in these years. But now is not the time to despair. What? Naruto wiped his tears and looked puzzled. The 4th Hokage did not answer, and skipped the previous topic. I already know about the Akatsuki organization, including the matter between Kainai and teacher Jiraiya. I have been paying attention to it silently in your body all these years. Then was it also Pain who controlled the Ninetales to attack Konoha before? Naruto heard it and asked hurriedly. It was because of that riot that many people lost their parents, Kainai's elder brother, Iruka's teacher, and his own. Sometimes, he wondered, if the Ninetales did not attack the village, would Kainai's elder brother not leave? Not really. The fourth Hokage shook his head. The real mastermind behind this is someone else. I'm afraid that Pain was also used. As for who it is, I think you should have seen it. That guy with a mask in the Akatsuki organization. Is it him? The figure of Obito appeared in Naruto's mind. Ah, the fourth Hokage nodded and chuckled. But now it seems that Konoha seems to have a very good ninja. The little girl named Shinatsu was able to force that masked man to that extent. Hearing this, Naruto's face was full of jealousy, as if to say, is it really okay to praise someone else's child in front of your own son, or such a brat? The fourth Hokage seemed to understand Naruto's thoughts and smiled slightly, adding, and my son, you too, have become quite outstanding now, no worse than that guy's daughter. Naruto thought that the guy the fourth Hokage was talking about was Tsunade. He smiled foolishly and scratched the back of his head and continued to ask, is the third Hokage really the person Sasuke said? It was he and Danzo who ordered brother Chiya and Uchiha Itachi to massacre the Uchiha clan and then wanted to kill them all. I have not experienced this personally, so I cannot make an objective evaluation. The fourth Hokage frowned. Regarding the issue of the Uchiha clan, the situation is very complicated. There are historical issues, and there is also the responsibility of the Konoha high-level officials. If I hadn't died, perhaps changes could have been made. As for the matter of Kainai and Uchiha Itachi, the third Hokage and Danzo really went too far. The two of them made different extreme choices. One chose to massacre the entire clan, protect his younger brother, and protect the village from falling into war. The other chose to protect the people he cherished and massacred the third Hokage and Danzo's clansmen. It is impossible to say who is right or wrong between them. At this point, the fourth Hokage couldn't help but sigh. Maybe it's just like Kainai said, as long as the ninja system exists, then such things will continue to happen. There will be no peaceful order. Naruto was stunned. What did brother Kainai say? The fourth Hokage nodded heavily. Pain should have asked you about peace. As long as love exists, hatred will arise. Ninjas are used by this hatred, and the same is true for someone as strong as Pain. Hatred will give rise to new Pains. It's not so much Pain that has caused all this today, but hatred. It's this cruel ninja system. As he spoke, the fourth Hokage's body gradually became transparent, and a relieved smile appeared on his face. He changed the subject, and in front of Naruto's stunned eyes, he raised his hand and touched his head. But if it's you, I'm willing to believe in you like Jiraiya-sensei. Naruto felt unprecedented recognition and said unconfidently, can I really do it? Of course, because you are my son. I believe in you. The fourth Hokage said seriously. Since even the fourth Hokage said so, then I will take it as a man who will not let me. Naruto gave an affirmative answer. At this time, he finally discovered the changes in the fourth Hokage. Dad, it's almost time. It seems that it's time for me to go. The fourth Hokage raised his semi-transparent hand and pressed it on Naruto's abdomen. Next, I will repair the seal for you, but this is the last time. Finally, it's great to see you grow up again. After speaking, the fourth Hokage gradually retreated, becoming more and more transparent, and finally completely disappeared from Naruto's sight. I will, Dad. Naruto raised his hands to both sides, keeping the posture of hugging his head, and shed tears of happiness. Outside, with a bang, the Ninetales that was about to break through the Chibaku Tensei disappeared. Naruto's figure was revealed. Nagato's Chibaku Tensei was forced to disintegrate due to excessive chakra loss. Under the influence of the protagonist's halo, the last Pain was quickly defeated. Naruto, you finally succeeded. Seeing Naruto defeat Pain, Jiraiya, who was standing next to Kainai, shed tears of relief. Is it necessary? A grown man cries like this? Kainai looked at Jiraiya with contempt. Shut up. What do you know? Do you know what this means? Jiraiya wiped his tears and said excitedly, this means that the prophecy of the great Toad Sage is true. Naruto is the son of prophecy, the future of this ninja world, and the one who will bring changes to this chaotic ninja world. The great Toad Sage. Prophecy? Kainai was more and more contemptuous. You are really childish. You are just a toad who has lived longer. The so-called prophecy is just a special ability to see the tip of the iceberg of the future. It is not worthy of praise. Hey, you are not allowed to disrespect the great Toad Sage. Jiraiya shouted. Let's go and see the so-called prophecy you mentioned. Then you will be free, and next time I may not hold back on the Konoha ninjas. Kainai said, holding Jiraiya's shoulder with his right hand, performing Flying Thunder God, and disappearing on the spot. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 311 Jiraiya's Ominous Premonition. In the afternoon, there is a quiet and peaceful mountain near Konoha. At the highest point is a towering tree. The tree is disguised by paper, and it is hard to detect if you don't look carefully. Nagato is in the tree. Because he used Super Shinra Tensei and Shibaku Tensei in succession, and consumed a lot of chakra in the battle with the Nine Tails during the invasion of Konoha, he is now coughing violently. Cough cough. The sound is very uncomfortable. At the same time, he spits out saliva. It is obvious that Nagato is extremely weak at this moment. Nagato, how are you? Konan, who is standing next to Nagato, asked anxiously. It's okay. Nagato looked across. It seems that peace has come as expected. As soon as the voice fell, Naruto, who had re-entered the sage mode, tore open the paper bark and walked in. Chiya and Jiraiya followed him at the same time. The two of them did not go in. They just stood outside the paper tree and watched through the gap. Of course, under the effect of the mirror flower and water moon, even if they went in, Naruto, Konan, and Nagato would not be able to detect it. Is it really Nagato? How could he become like this? He had a skinny body, with black sticks of varying lengths inserted into his back, and his lower body supported by machinery. Jiraiya looked at Nagato's current appearance through the gap in the giant paper tree. Even with his calmness, he couldn't help but take a breath. What exactly did Nagato go through? Why don't you just listen to this? He will tell it himself. Kainai crossed his arms. Next, Nagato and Naruto began a mouth-to-mouth duel. In the words of the old toad on Myaboki Mountain and Jiraiya, it was the choice of the two children of prophecy. To put it bluntly, it was a discussion of whether people can understand each other and whether peace in the true sense really exists. As a result, there is no doubt that Naruto, who had just been trained by the fourth Hokage, won. With the help of a book called The Legend of Strong and Perseverant Ninja written by Jiraiya, he defeated Nagato in the form of mouth-to-mouth. Outer Path Reincarnation Natural Art. The convinced Nagato made hand seals. Nagato, you. Konan was startled suddenly, cold sweat dripping down her pretty face, and then she heard Nagato say, enough, Konan, this is my own choice. Konan looked lonely, and looked at Naruto with dim eyes, thinking in her heart, for this child, do you really have to go to such a length? With Nagato's current chakra, performing this technique would only sure enough. Nagato is still too naive. He was silenced by Naruto in just a few words. No wonder he was easily used by that guy. Looking at Nagato, Kainai performed the Samsara life, and he lifted the mirror flower and water moon in time. Suddenly, a huge Hades rose from the ground in the center of Konoha village. Nagato looked through the eyes of the Hades, and saw that Konoha had not been completely destroyed. He was stunned for a moment, and then seemed to think of something, smiled, and continued to perform the Samsara life. The Hades stood up, and opened his mouth, releasing countless green light balls, which scattered all over Konoha. And at this moment, Nagato's red hair finally turned white, because of the exhaustion of chakra. What is this? Looking at Nagato's white hair, Jiraiya and Naruto were shocked, and lost their voices at the same time. Reincarnation technique. A resurrection ninjutsu that almost costs the life of the caster. The longer the death of the resurrected object and the more people are resurrected, the more chakra is consumed. If the resurrected object is an impure world reincarnation, the impure world reincarnation state will be automatically released. Nagato is now performing this technique to resurrect all the ninjas in Konoha who were killed by him. Kainai clamped Jiraiya's collar, stretched out his purple cloud wings behind him, flew into Konoha, landed on the tall wall, and looked down. I saw that the huge Konoha was covered by dense green light balls like raindrops. If you look closely, you can see that the green light spots are looking for corpses on their own. At the moment, when the green light ball sank into the corpse came back to life and completed the resurrection. Is this the forbidden technique of the Six Paths Sage? It's incredible. Jiraiya was shocked and then asked, what about Nagato? He will die, probably. Of course, all this isn't my plan and expectation. Kainai casually lifted Jiraiya's seal. My chakra feeling the chakra flowing again in his body. Jiraiya tilted his head and looked at Kainai with a complicated expression. Is this the last thing you said you would do for Konoha? That's it. Kainai nodded. Next time we meet, maybe we will be enemies. Except for Chinatsu and Tsunade and a few people, I will not hold back. Probably. Why? Why do you want to do this? Jiraiya was anxious when he heard it. Although it was Naruto who defeated Pain this time, it was you who really saved Konoha from being destroyed. You can completely use this to offset the mistakes you made that year. He knew that if Kainai really left today, Konoha and even the entire ninja world would be greeted by an enemy that is stronger and more terrifying than Pain. There is one thing you got wrong. I never thought that I did anything wrong. If I have to say that I did something wrong, it was probably that I didn't stop Tsunade from returning to Konoha to be Hokage. Kainai turned around, spread his purple cloud wings, and faced Jiraiya with his back. Wait. Jiraiya was still not giving up. Kainai, are you just going to watch the upcoming piece go up in flames? And Tsunade and Chinatsu, do you have the heart to become their enemy? Kainai said indifferently, the upcoming piece. It's really ridiculous. Even if Naruto becomes the so-called Hokage, so what? What if he defeats Akatsuki? The inflation capacity is just the second first generation Hokage. Perhaps the 5 major countries will achieve a short-term peace because of their cooperation in the next struggle against Akatsuki. But that is only relative to the 5 major countries. Small countries like the Hidden Rain village will still suffer from war. There will be no change. Moreover, after Naruto's generation dies, wars will still happen, as long as the ninja system exists. Jiraiya said sternly, enough Kainai, don't be stubborn anymore. Your thoughts are very dangerous. Kainai did not answer, but continued to say to himself, as for being enemies with Tsunade and Chinatsu, sorry, such a thing does not exist at all. Next, you just enjoy the last peaceful time. After saying that, Kainai flapped his wings, and the whole person turned into a point of light and disappeared into the sky. That's Naruto's direction. Damn it. Jiraiya clenched his fists tightly and looked back at Konoha. After all, he was still worried about Naruto and worried that Kainai would do something to him. After a little hesitation, he quickly chased after him. On the other side, Konan, who had already collected Nagato's body, took Naruto to Yahiko's body. Are you going to take him back too? Naruto looked at Yahiko's body, which was gradually wrapped in paper, with a lonely expression. Chapter 312 Naruto's Ambition. Nagato's death made Naruto feel very depressed. Although Nagato killed his mentor. But at the moment of resurrecting the Konoha ninja, everything was offset. Well, this Tendo Pain was made from Yahiko's corpse. He is a very important person to us. Konan nodded. This guy's Yahiko. Naruto suddenly realized and continued to ask, what are you going to do next? I don't think you will return to the Akatsuki organization. I will leave Akatsuki. For me, Nagato, Yahiko and Kai are everything. Since Nagato entrusted his and Yahiko's dreams to you, then I will also believe in you. At this point, Konan stretched out his hand and grabbed countless papers condensed into a bouquet of flowers and handed it to Naruto. Nagato and Yahiko's dreams are entrusted to you. And Chiya. Naruto was stunned. Brother Chiya? Konan said, I guess you should have realized that the area destroyed by Nagato is not Konoha now. You mean, this is Brother Chiya? Naruto's eyes flashed with surprise. Konan sighed. There are 3 young members coming to Konoha this time, me, Nagato, and the last one is Chiya. Even Uchiha's main Jiki cannot hide the illusion of Nagato's samurai. I can't think of anyone else who can do this except Chiya. Next, maybe I should try a new life. I will persuade him to leave the Akatsuki organization. Chiya's partner is absolutely obedient to Chiya. As long as Chiya leaves, she will leave too. Konan's mind flashed with the scene of Makoto, Izumi and Chiya raising their children, and a blush and yearning appeared on her pretty face. Although she envied that kind of life in the past, she had been suppressing herself because of Nagato's opposition and the dreams of Nagato and Yahiko. Now she can finally let it go. Then please, I will remember the dreams of senior brother Nagato and Yahiko in my heart. Naruto made a gesture of offering his heart. The haze in his heart was swept away. At this moment, he only felt that the world suddenly became infinitely beautiful and everyone in Konoha was resurrected. He also became stronger. Even brother Chiya is about to come back. Only Sasuke was left. Konan nodded faintly and walked towards the hidden rain village with the bodies of Nagato and Yahiko. Naruto rushed to the direction of Konoha. After the previous battle with Pain, he used too many shadow clones. After everything was over, fatigue suddenly swept over his body. Just when he was about to faint, he fell into Jiraiya's arms. The lecherous sage. Naruto slowly opened his sleepy eyes and rubbed them hard. He couldn't believe that his mentor was alive. Well done, Naruto. Jiraiya smiled with relief. Aren't you all ready? After confirming that it was Jiraiya, Naruto shed excited tears. Could it be because of Nagato's technique? But according to the Fukaza Toad, didn't the lecherous sage's body sink to the bottom of the sea? Could it be that brother Kyuubi brought the lecherous sage's body back? Well, I'm afraid this is the only explanation. Thinking of this, he wiped his tears and suddenly laughed, saying, haha, what's so funny? Jiraiya showed an embarrassed look. Nothing. Naruto shook his head, hugged Jiraiya's shoulders tightly with both hands, and leaned on his back. I'm just happy to see you are still alive. Not long after the two walked, they arrived at Kakashi, who came. Even Kakashi-sensei resurrected Kakashi-sensei. From a distance, Naruto jumped off Jiraiya's back and hurried to Kakashi. However, because his body was too weak, his steps were unstable, and he stumbled and fainted. Kakashi and Jiraiya instantly came to him and supported him. You are really brave enough, Jiraiya said. But it is also because of Naruto's bravery that Konoha has survived this crisis. Kakashi carried Naruto on his back. At this moment, the slug hidden in Naruto has conveyed everything Naruto experienced at Pain's side to all parts of Konoha. As the two walked towards Konoha, Kakashi said, I just didn't expect that Lord Jiraiya was actually still alive. When I came here, someone said they saw you, but I thought they were mistaken. It seems that you were also resurrected because of this jutsu of pain. Naruto really has an incredible power. He has done things that no one else can do, such as the mission to recapture the Kazekage, and this time when Pain invaded Konoha. He has exerted unparalleled power. No, things are not as simple as you think. Jiraiya stopped. In fact, I was not resurrected by Pain's jutsu. And I was buried in the deep sea at that time. Even the Rinnegan could not resurrect me. At this point, Jiraiya's face suddenly became solemn. The one who really resurrected me was Kyuubi, and the battle to recapture the Kazekage was also where Kyuubi deliberately left clues. The resurrection of the Kazekage also had a certain factor of Kyuubi in it. What's going on? Kakashi turned around. His face suddenly became solemn. From Jiraiya's words, he heard the seriousness of the matter. Jiraiya said seriously, this matter will be very complicated to summarize, and I can't tell you now. In this regard, I can only say that in the near future, Konoha, and even the entire ninja world, will face an enemy that is stronger and more terrifying than Pain. I can't believe that Pain was killed. What about Kyuubi? How could he do it with the Nine Tails? Outside Konoha, a huge pitcher plant rose from the trunk. It was actually the voice of White Zetsu, with a tone full of disbelief. It's probably the same as the Eight Tails. He was just watching the battle and left after seeing the Jinchuriki being captured. Now there is still some Nine Tails chakra in the air. It seems that after the Jinchuriki was captured, the Nine Tails went berserk. Black Zetsu took over the topic, his tone full of unwillingness and unconcealable anger. It waited for nearly 1,000 years and finally waited for this opportunity, but now, it was finally successful. But something went wrong at this critical moment. First, the 8 tails used the octopus tail clone to escape. Then it was the 9 tails again. What should we do now? White Zetsu asked. Hurry up and inform Afei. Black Zetsu suppressed the anger in his heart and controlled the pitcher plant to slowly merge into the ground. Now, the only one it can use is Obito. As for Kanai, it can't control it. Are you going crazy? On the road that Konoha must take to go to the Hidden Rain Village, Kanai listened to the conversation between Black Zetsu and White Zetsu with a gloating smile on his face. At this time, Konan finally rushed over with the bodies of Nagato and Yahiko wrapped in paper and floating in the air. Kanai opened his arms to him, and the latter took a step and threw himself into Kanai's arms. Chapter 313 Infinite Other Gods. Kanai, Nagato. Zayanan threw herself into Kanai's arms and sobbed. I know everything, don't worry, I'll take care of everything. Kanai gently stroked Zayanan's back, hugged her willow waist, and turned to the bodies of Yahiko and Nagato, and quietly released the chakra thread in his hand to entangle them. Flying Thunder God was performed, and the 2 people and 2 bodies disappeared. Zayanan felt her eyes blurred, and she subconsciously lowered her eyes. When she opened them again, she had returned to Yuan. She couldn't help but exclaimed, this is Flying Thunder God, an S-level space-time ninjutsu developed by the 2nd generation Hokage. It was extorted from Orochimaru. After learning it, I have been using it to secretly travel around the ninja world. I used it to bring you back to Yuan village. Kanai patted Zayanan's shoulder, walked to Nagato's body, and performed a god-level medical ninjutsu with the injection of hundreds of cards of chakra. In Zayanan's horrified eyes, Nagato, who was wrapped in a paper ball, gradually regained his vitality. Ahem. Where am I? Why is it so dark? Is this hell? Nagato's weak voice came from the paper ball. If it's hell or not, pinch your thigh and you'll know. Kanai stopped injecting chakra and did not continue to consume chakra to restore Nagato. He turned and walked to the table and poured himself a glass of water. This is Yikang's original residence. Since Yikang was accepted by Makoto's wife and Izumi, he moved there. Now he doesn't do many tasks. More time is spent teaching Kai and her. After all, although Izumi opened the Eternal Manger Key, his foundation is not as solid as Yikang, who has experienced the Ninja World War. In terms of teaching people, he can't catch up. Nagato, you are not dead, you are still alive. Zayanan shed tears excitedly, waved her jade hand, and the paper ball automatically dissipated, revealing Nagato's thin figure. It's Konan. What's going on? With the help of Konan, Nagato raised his upper body with difficulty, looked around blankly, and finally his eyes fell on Kanai, who was drinking tea. Kanai, did you save me? Why? He couldn't think of anything about himself that was worthy of being saved by Kanai. In his eyes, he was just a sinner who killed his mentor. He was no different from Uchiha Itachi, whom Kanai hated the most. Kanai had no reason to save him. Unless Nagato turned his eyes to Konan, the latter happened to be looking at Kanai. When he noticed that Nagato was looking at him, his eyes dodged, and a blush suddenly appeared on his face. Is that so? Nagato lay on the ground again, with a relieved smile on his face. Maybe this is not bad. That's it. Kanai stood up, brewed 2 cups of tea, and handed them to Konan and Nagato. I already know about what happened between you and Naruto, and now it's time to tell you the truth. As he spoke, Kanai told him how Madara was transferred from Zero to the Samurai, how Obito used Akatsuki, how Obito was used by Uchiha Madara, and then Uchiha Madara was used by Black Zetsu. At the same time, he also told how he met Obito. When they learned that the remaining members of the first generation of Akatsuki were killed by Obito, while he and Yahiko were going to rescue Konan, both Nagato and Konan were furious. But when they heard that Obito was used by Uchiha Madara, and then Uchiha Madara was used by Black Zetsu, they were silent for a moment. Although Black Zetsu was the black hand behind all these tragedies, it was undoubtedly not this sick ninja system that caused all these tragedies. It is precisely because of this sick ninja world that Madara, Obito, and even Nagato himself were used one after another. Step by step, they became pawns controlled by others. After a long time, Nagato finally spoke. So, if it were you, what would you do? He knew that the one who really decided the fate of the ninja world was neither him, nor Naruto, nor Obito and the long dead Madara. Black Zetsu was even more impossible. Kainai could have killed Obito and Black Zetsu before Uchiha Madara was resurrected, and seized or destroyed his samurai, eliminating the possibility of Uchiha Madara and even Satsuki Kagura being resurrected. Obito's goal is to create a world with only Nohara in. Uchiha Madara's goal is to create a world without war, and Black Zetsu's goal is to resurrect his mother, Kagura Satsuki. Kainai walked to the window, looked at the continuous rain outside, and threw the topic back to Nagato. Then what do you want me to do? Nagato did not hesitate, and expressed his thoughts frankly. Stop them. Konan on the side also nodded in deep agreement. Kainai, we must stop them, otherwise this ninja world will be over. What after stopping them? Will this sick ninja world get better? Kainai asked twice in succession, and sighed. Nagato, Konan, you should know that all this is impossible. Even with the so-called son of prophecy Naruto, people can gain a brief peace through so-called mutual understanding. But as long as this sick ninja system exists, the so-called peace is just empty talk. After all, human nature is the most vulnerable to the test. Nagato and Konan fell silent again, and heard Kainai say, so, I choose to find another way. Kainai suddenly turned around, revealing a pair of scarlet four-cornered windmill-shaped Manjaki Sharingan. This is. Nagato and Konan were shocked. How could Kainai have Manjaki Sharingan? Was he also a member of the Uchiha clan? Manjaki Sharingan. Kainai began to talk nonsense in a serious manner. The Manjaki Sharingan of Uchiha clan leader Fugaku has the ability to transfer his own bloodline. When the Uchiha clan was exterminated, before Uchiha clan leader Fugaku died peacefully, he entrusted me to take good care of Makoto and spare Uchiha Itachi's life in exchange for his own bloodline and Manjaki Sharingan. In order to strengthen myself, I agreed and accepted the gift of Uchiha Fugaku's bloodline, and as a result, I opened my own Manjaki Sharingan. Its ability is to seize bloodline. Originally, I disdained to use this kind of seize power, and until now, I have never used it on others. But there is one exception. That is Uchiha Shizu, who was forced to death by Konoha's top leaders. His Manjaki is called Katamatsukami, and it is known as the strongest illusion. It can directly invade the opponent's brain without being discovered, and modify the opponent's will. If Obito and Madara's wish is to obtain peace through the infinite Tsukuyomi fabricated by Black Zetsu, then my goal is the infinite Katamatsukami. With the help of the power of the Ten Tails, I can project my eyes onto the moon, modify this corrupt ninja system, and force the world to instill the concept of peace. This is peace in the true sense. After saying that, Kainai added in his heart that it would depend on his own interests how it would be modified. Chapter 314, Melancholy Tsunade. Nagato agreed. Yes. After listening to Kainai's plan, Nagato finally agreed. He handed over his samurai, and then under the effect of Kainai's senzu beans, he returned to his normal appearance. The eyes that were dug out by Madara to transplant the samurai also grew back. Even Naruto, who had no plan and only shouted the slogan of mutual understanding and peace, was deceived by Nagato. Not to mention Kainai, the master of deception who had a specific plan. However, Nagato also made a request, that is, to save the life of his junior brother Naruto. Soapy no longer exists, Nagato is reborn, and he and Konan continue to maintain the operation of Yugakuya. That night, Kainai and Konan entered the bridal chamber. At the same time, Konoha village. Outside, the work of rebuilding Konoha is in full swing. But the Hokage's office is a different scene at this moment. Tsunade is sitting on the Hokage's desk, with a sad face. Shizune stands behind Tsunade holding Tantan. In front of them, those present included Jiraiya, Kakashi, Yamato, former Inoshikacho Shikaku, Choza, Inoichi and other Konoha backbones. Silence. The huge Hokage office fell into a dead silence. Just now, Jiraiya told Chiya what he had seen and heard during this period, except that Tsunade and Chinatsu were Chiya's wife and daughter. At the same time, he also told the whole story of Chiya's and Uchiha Itachi's defection. Jiraiya is not the third Hokage, nor is he Danzo, nor is he Utatane Koharu and Mitokado N. He likes to cover up everything and then hide in the dark to calculate. Now that Konoha has reached a critical juncture, he doesn't care about maintaining the face of Konoha's top management. Sharing information is the most important thing. Otherwise, people will fight to the doorstep, or to be more precise, they have already fought to the doorstep. Kainai, a guy who made amazing feats of wiping out the Sarutobi and Shimura clans at the age of 13, is not as simple as Nagato. When they learned that Pain's invasion of Konoha was in Kainai's plan from beginning to end, everyone was glad that Kainai really helped Konoha this time. Well deserved, he saved everyone. But after being glad, it was fear. People are always afraid of unknown things. Medical ninjutsu with no side effects of resurrection, flying thunder god who can jump through space at will, fairy arts that are better than Mayaboki Mountain, illusions that can hide from the Samsara, various powerful 5-element escape techniques, and barriers that surpass the level of tailed beasts. This is the information about Kainai that Konoha has learned so far. Any one of them is almost unsolvable, and it is not an exaggeration to say that it is truly immortal. The most important thing is that Konoha has almost no clue about Kainai's various abilities. Compared with Pain who just invaded Konoha, Kainai's ability is even more unsolvable. This is truly overwhelming power. Putting aside the above, it was Kainai's exaggerated perception and swordsmanship that was powerful enough to split mountains and rocks that made Konoha unable to resist. Kainai's strength reminded them of the Shura of the ninja world, Uchiha Madara, who had fought a great battle with the first generation of Hokage. For a moment, everyone fell into great despair. After a while, Jiraiya spoke, breaking the silence in the field. The above is the information we know. According to the information obtained from Naruto, the masked man in Akatsuki who is suspected to be Uchiha Madara is the culprit of the Ninetales rebellion. It seems that the guy in Akatsuki that Kainai mentioned at the time who is stronger than him is not Pain, but very likely the masked man. From what Kainai said at the time, it is not ruled out that the two have reached some kind of agreement. They both have the same extreme idea, which is to destroy the ninja system and solve the problems of the ninja world from the root. Kakashi sighed, then this is really a headache. Kainai is a native Konoha ninja and knows everything about Konoha, but we know very little about him. Once Kainai really joins forces with Uchiha Madara, it is really unimaginable. At this point, Kakashi recalled their conversation with Kainai during the Chunin exam. He couldn't help but feel a little resentful towards the third generation. The strongest Hokage in history, who had killed his father, and the dark ninja who had defected from Konoha, really created a formidable enemy. The others seemed to understand Kakashi's thoughts, closed their eyes, and nodded helplessly. This meeting ultimately failed to come up with a solution, and ended in vain. Kakashi and others left one after another, and only Jiraiya, Shizune, and Tsunade were left in the Hokage's office. Shizune looked at Tsunade with a worried look while holding Tsunade at Tsunade-sama. Suddenly, Kainai changed from his previous bad taste and no position to maintain a relatively friendly attitude towards Konoha because of Tsunade and Shinatsu to hostility. Not to mention Jiraiya, even she, who thought she knew Kainai well, was caught off guard. Not to mention Tsunade herself. I'll go to him and ask him in person. Tsunade slapped the table and stood up suddenly. I think you'd better not be so impulsive. Jiraiya folded his arms, closed his eyes, and leaned against the wall, sighing. Indeed, judging from this invasion of Konoha, Kainai will never hurt you and Shinatsu. But none of us knows what he wants to do. If you go there now, let alone whether you can find him, even if you do, he will probably seal your chakra and imprison you until the end of the war. Hearing this, Tsunade sat down with lifeless eyes. This was the first time Kainai did not discuss it with her. He did not come to her again afterwards. This time when Pain invaded Konoha, he directly locked her and Shinatsu and others in the barrier. I'm afraid that if she takes the initiative to find Kainai, the latter may really do that. Shizune was stunned. War? War. Jiraiya looked out the window. After experiencing the big commotion caused by Pain this time, and the information that the Eight Tails was captured, and the 5 cage talks were about to be held in the hidden cloud village not long ago, he had a hunch that next, a war that would sweep the entire ninja world would come. The Iron Kingdom. Mountain Cemetery. At this time, Obito was doing his daily ninja training. The capture of the Ninetales failed, Pain rebelled, and he used the Samsara to revive everyone in Konoha. A huge pitcher plant suddenly sprang out from under his feet, and Black Zetsu reported to Obito the situation of Pain's invasion of Konoha. That guy Nagato. Obito stopped training, landed in front of Zetsu, put on a mask, grabbed the Akatsuki robe on the ground, put it on, and walked towards the exit, while asking, "Where is Chiya?" With that guy's strength, even if Nagato failed, he should be able to complete the capture. Chapter 315 Obito's plan. Black Zetsu sighed. I don't know. Kanai is a guy who comes and goes without a trace, and he has a strong sense and the ability to shield senses. Even the Mayfly technique cannot hide from him. We can't sense him, but he can sense us. However, a big reason why Pain failed this time is because the Ninetales went berserk. The Ninetales will only go berserk when it is on the verge of life and death or extremely angry. Maybe this time it's the same as Sasuke last time. Kainai thought that the Ninetales was successfully captured by Pain, so he left. Of course, we can't rule out the possibility that he has been watching the show. After all, that guy is a person who is afraid of chaos in the world. He also said that he would kill you after you fail. In other words, he will not provide you with direct help. This is not the worst. If the Rinnegan falls into the hands of Kainai, it will be difficult to deal with. If you don't take out something that makes him interested, that guy will not give up. Orochimaru is a lesson learned. So far, the dead stinky snake has been blackmailed by Kainai countless times. Obito stopped and clenched his fists. Kainai, that bastard. He cursed in his heart. Black Zetsu continued to ask, so, Afei, what are you going to do next? Nagato's betrayal caused Akatsuki to lose 2 members at once. If nothing unexpected happens, that woman will no longer listen to you. The other woman only listens to Kainai. Now the only member of Akatsuki who can still be of great use is Kasame. Obito shook his head. No, you have overlooked one person. Black Zetsu was stunned, and the teasing voice of White Zetsu rang in his ears. Black Zetsu, it seems that you have forgotten Sasuke. Shut up. Black Zetsu scolded, and continued to ask, Afei, the Rinnegan is the most important thing. It is the key to the plan, and cannot be lost. Whether it falls into Kainai's hands or not, it must be found quickly. You must know that only the Rinnegan can control the outer path demon statue. Don't worry about the Rinnegan. Obito pondered for a moment, and asked casually, the capture of the 8 tails and the 9 tails caused such a big fuss this time. Is there any movement in Kyuubi and Konoha? White Zetsu said gloatingly, Konoha is fine. The village is currently being rebuilt. But in Kyuubi, the Raikage was humiliated in front of Chiya and thought his brother was captured by us, so he was furious. It seems that the 5-cage summit is being prepared. The location is in the Land of Iron. If nothing unexpected happens, Konoha, Sand Village, Mist Village, and Iwagakure will soon receive the news. 5-cage summit. Haha. Obito's right eye showed an interested look, and he suddenly laughed up to the sky. What's wrong? Black Zetsu and White Zetsu were puzzled. Obito shrugged and spread his hands. Don't you think this is a good opportunity? Then, what are you going to do? Black Zetsu asked seriously. Although it's a little early, it doesn't seem to matter. Take advantage of this 5-cage summit to declare war on the 5 major countries, once and for all, and force them to hand over the 8 tails and the 9 tails. The laughter stopped, and Obito said in a deep voice. Hearing this, Black Zetsu was silent for a while, thinking about how he had secretly led Kabuto, who was collecting corpses and performing impure world reincarnation, to the burial place of Uchiha Madara some time ago, and he immediately had a plan in mind. This is a good idea, but what if they don't hand it over? Then we can only go to war. Obito spread his hands, thinking carefully. Since the Third Ninja World War, this desperate and disgusting world has been at peace for too long, and it's time to make some trouble. But before that, we need to find someone. White Zetsu asked curiously, is it Sasuke? Of course. It's perfect for him to cause a scene at the 5-cage summit. Obito nodded. Black Zetsu asked, what about Chihaya? Should we inform him? He will be very interested in such a scene, and Akatsuki really needs someone who is strong enough to intimidate the 5 Cage to accompany you. After all, after the last battle with the little girl in Konoha, all your information has been leaked. Chihaya's apprentice? Obito recalled the scene when he fought with Chihaya last time. At that time, almost all of his actions were seen through by the other party. Not only the ability, but also the tactics. The other party seemed to have the ability to read minds, and predicted all his actions without a single mistake. Compared with the first battle with Chihaya on the eve of the Uchiha clan extermination, the former was even more powerful. After a long silence, Obito finally spoke, "Let's go to the Hidden Rain Village. Remember, if the woman who betrayed me has returned to the Hidden Rain Village, try to avoid her." Before confirming Chihaya's position, "We can't act rashly for the time being." "I know." Black Zetsu nodded. Obito used Kamu and Zetsu used Mayfly technique, and the two disappeared at the same time. Konoha. Hokage's office. "Things seem to be worse than we thought." Jiraiya handed Tsunade an envelope. "Take a look. This is an envoy sent by the Hidden Cloud Village. Let me pass it to you." "This is." Tsunade opened the letter and immediately broke out in a cold sweat. In addition to inviting the Konoha Hokage to go to the Iron Country to participate in the 5 Cage talks, it also mentioned that the 8-Tails Jinchuriki of the Hidden Cloud Village was captured. Of course, out of consideration for the face of the Raikage, it did not describe that the Raikage and his 2 guards were easily defeated by Kainai and forced to kneel. It only said that Kainai and Uchiha Sasuke teamed up to capture the Raikage's younger brother, the 8-Tails Jinchuriki, Kyuubi. "Tsunade-sama, what's wrong with you?" Seeing that Tsunade's expression was not right, Shizune also came over to watch and was stunned. What on earth was Master Kainai going to do? He actually captured the 8-Tails and brought Sasuke with him. Tsunade stood up suddenly and said sternly, "Shizune, go call Chinatsu and Kakashi, gather at the gate of Konoha in half an hour, and go with me to the Land of Iron to attend the 5 Cage summit." "Yes." Shizune responded respectfully and ran out. Chinatsu and Kakashi are currently the most outstanding ninjas in the village, but, is this really okay? "How about I go for you?" Jiraiya said hesitantly. Both of them knew that this 5 Cage summit would definitely not be that simple, and Akatsuki might get involved. If Kainai really reached some agreement with the masked man who looked like Uchiha Madara, I'm afraid Kainai will go over to join in the fun. To be precise, regardless of whether he cooperates with the masked man or not, with Kainai's character of wanting to cause chaos in the world, he will definitely go over to join in the fun. By then, Tsunade and Chinatsu are likely to be taken away by Kainai. PS. Please vote for recommendation and monthly vote. Chapter 316 Angry Chinatsu. "I know what you are worried about." Tsunade stood up and looked out the window. "I just want to ask what that guy is thinking. Why does he do this?" Jiraiya tried to persuade her. "Actually, you don't have to take this risk. I can go." Although that guy said that next time we meet, he will not hold back except for you, Chinatsu and a few others. But no matter what, I'm also that guy's brother-in-law. If I don't provoke him, he will not kill me. "That's fine." Tsunade turned around with a sly smile on her face, but this time the 5 Cage conference invited the Konoha Hokage. "If you take over as the 6th Hokage, I will agree to let you go." "Is there really no room for negotiation?" Jiraiya smiled bitterly. He knew that, if he really accepted the position of the 6th Hokage, Tsunade would take Chinatsu to find her father in the next second. By then, things would be even worse. "What do you think?" Tsunade asked instead of answering, with a half smile, exhaled a little, and said seriously, "Then from now on, Konoha will be handed over to you, and Naruto, you must keep a close eye on him. I think this time, whether it is Chihaya or Sasuke, it will be a huge blow to him." At the same time, at a Ichiraku ramen restaurant, Iruka was treating Naruto to Ichiraku ramen as usual. "Hey Naruto, as a hero who saved Konoha, this is a special gift, Ichiraku Super Deluxe Ramen. I added double the amount of fish balls, dried bamboo shoots, and Naruto rolls in it. Please enjoy." Ichiraku brought out a large bowl of ramen and handed it to Naruto with a smile. "Thank you, Uncle Ichiraku." Naruto put his hands together and opened his chopsticks. "I'm going to start." Iruka sat aside, holding his cheek with his left hand, quietly watching Naruto eat heartily, with a loving smile like an old father on his face. "What's wrong, teacher Iruka?" Naruto couldn't help asking, when he noticed Iruka's gaze. Iruka shook his head and smiled. "No, nothing. I just feel that time flies. The little kid who only knew how to play pranks has finally been recognized by the villagers and become a hero who saved Konoha." Naruto smiled awkwardly and scratched the back of his head, a little embarrassed. "Speaking of which, I have to thank brother Kainai this time. If he hadn't used illusion to interfere with Pain's perception, the technique that could destroy Konoha would have been released outside Konoha, and the body of the lecherous sage would have been sent back to Konoha. Even if I defeated Pain, I'm afraid Konoha would have been destroyed, and the lecherous sage would not have been resurrected." Kainai? Iruka fell into deep thought, recalling the few Kyuubi ninjas he had seen not long ago. From their conversation, Iruka learned that the Eight Tails was captured by Kainai and Sasuke. After hearing what Naruto said, Ichiraku became even more excited and asked, "Have you seen the kid Kainai?" "No." Naruto shook his head and asked in confusion, "Why, Uncle Ichiraku, are you familiar with brother Kainai?" "Ah, that was a long time ago." Ichiraku nodded, with memories on his face. "Back then, he was a frequent customer here, remember? He treated you to ramen when you were a child, especially during the spring festival, when you were 5 years old. Seeing that you were all alone, he paid for a whole spring festival of ramen for you. Of course, I will never forget it." Naruto looked excited and then heard Ichiraku say, "It's a pity that the child encountered such a thing later. If that thing hadn't happened back then." Ichiraku sighed helplessly. Suddenly, the ramen restaurant became quiet. At this moment, an angry voice suddenly sounded. "I seem to have heard you discussing Fujiwara Chiya just now. Tell me about Chiya. It seems that you are friends with him. And this time, he seems to have helped you, Konoha. As a traitorous ninja of Konoha and a member of the notorious Akatsuki organization, is he still attached to his hometown?" A flash of knife flashed across, and the curtain of the ramen shop was blown open, revealing the figure of a female ninja with dark skin. She held the knife in one hand, pointed at Naruto, and the pure white blade was almost on Naruto's shoulder, questioning. Behind her, there was a male ninja with the same dark skin. He held a lollipop in his mouth and his face was full of indignation. They were Kyuubi's disciples, Karu and Omoi. This forehead protector. Iruka was startled and reminded hurriedly, "Naruto, they are Cloud Ninjas." Cloud Ninjas? Naruto, who had just fought with Pain, had obviously grown a lot. His face was solemn, and he was not impulsive. Instead, he asked calmly, "You suddenly appeared in Konoha, what do you want to do?" Karu said sternly, "What? Of course, we are asking for information about Fujiwara Chiya, his abilities in ninjutsu, chakra attributes and other aspects. Of course, there is also Uchiha Sasuke." Omoi added, "The two guys in your Konoha rebelled and took away our master. I must avenge my master. Not only brother Chiya, but even Sasuke." Naruto took a deep breath and pointed outside the ramen restaurant. "How about we talk somewhere else?" "That won't do. The boss behind you seems to know that guy Fujiwara Chiya. No one can leave this ramen restaurant before telling us the information about him." Karu was unreasonable, and Naruto was worried about hurting Iruka and Ichiraku, so he didn't dare to act rashly, and the two sides were in a stalemate. "What if I insist on letting them leave?" A heavenly voice suddenly sounded. Everyone present was startled and looked in the direction of the voice. A white figure quietly appeared above Karu's head and stood quietly on the latter's shoulder, as if she was supposed to belong there. The girl looked cold and beautiful, and her beautiful and delicate face was not like that of the mortal world. She was wearing a moon-white ninja combat uniform, and a Konoha forehead protector was hung on her white and slender neck. The breeze blew, and her long golden hair and forehead protector fluttered, and she looked heroic. The sound of the metal ringing of the forehead protector added a touch of delicacy to the girl. The person who came was none other than Tsunade and Chiya's daughter, Chinatsu. Damn it, when? Karu and Omoi cursed in their hearts at the same time. The former swung his sword to slash at Chinatsu above his head, while the latter drew his sword to guard against Naruto and Iruka. Out of consideration for Konoha, Omoi reminded Karu, "This is Konoha, don't really chop. I know, you're so nagging." Karu suppressed her anger and turned the back of her knife to chop at Chinatsu. However, before she could swing the blade, she felt a huge force attacking her shoulders. With a thud, Karu was directly pressed to the ground by Chinatsu. Is this the ninja from Uchiha Chiya? He's really not weak. Chinatsu put a little force on her feet, and with a scrape, Karu's shoulder holding the knife was dislocated. The saber also fell out of her hand. Chapter 317, The 5 Cage Talks, Part 1. "Ah, you bastard, let me go." With a roar, Karu tried to struggle a few times, but the severe pain in her shoulder did not allow her to get up and lose the strength to resist. Omoi was shocked, and her pupils shrank immediately. Karu did not care that Naruto and Iruka were still beside him, and turned the sword in his hand and swung it at Chinatsu. Ding. The familiar scene was repeated, but Chinatsu actually caught Omoi's blade with one hand. How is this possible, with one hand? Omoi's pupils, which had originally shrunken, suddenly dilated, his eyes were blurred, and his face showed disbelief. Seeing his companions injured, he did not hold back in a hurry. Chihiro grabbed Omoi's blade with one hand and said sarcastically with an expressionless face, "You Kyuubi are really weaker than each other. No wonder you were beaten so badly by the rebel ninja who left our village. Asshole. Don't underestimate Kyuubi." Omoi was furious and pulled the sword out of Chihiro's hand. He stepped back suddenly, pulling the distance between the two, and then rushed forward with a step, raising the sword and slashing at Chihiro as fast as lightning. Bang! There was another muffled sound. Except for Naruto, almost no one in the scene could see Chihiro's movements clearly. By the time everyone reacted, Omoi's sword had been taken away by Chihiro. Omoi himself was knocked to the ground, and his head was stepped on by Chihiro, like a dead dog. "Omoi, damn it, who are you?" Kyuubi's female disciple Karu covered her dislocated shoulder and got up with difficulty. Before she could finish her words, Chiksha had already put her knife against the throat of the former. She stepped on Omoi's head and said coldly, "I should be the one asking you. As a cloud ninja, you rashly appeared in our village and intended to attack the Konoha ninja and residents. Even if I kill you now, the Raikage will not say anything. It seems that during the reign of the third Hokage, you cloud ninjas kidnapped Hinata's sister and killed his uncle Hyuga Hisashi. It's just right to use you to pay for your lives." While speaking, Chiksha slowly swung her knife at Karu, who was also scared and closed his eyes to welcome the arrival of death. At this time, as expected, Naruto's saintly heart broke out. He put his hands together and caught Chiksha's blade. "Stop, Chiksha, the two of them are like this because their master was captured." "Then what?" Chiksha asked lightly. If she didn't know that he truly respected his father, Chiksha would not look at him well. "Leave it to me, okay? I'll take care of it." Naruto threw the blade on the ground and said seriously, "Leave it to you? And then you kneel down and beg for mercy from these two guys in order to prevent the spread of hatred? And then let them beat you up to vent their anger?" Chinatsu was speechless. She really didn't know whether Naruto was really stupid or just pretending to be stupid. He was too naive. Naruto was stunned. How did she know what I was going to do? Then he reacted and said seriously, "I will help them rescue the master as a condition. Whatever you want." Chinatsu knew that the other party did all this for her father and the unlucky stepson brother, Najiru, so she didn't make it difficult anymore. She warned Omoi and Karu, "You two. Yes, Black Ghost, I'm talking about you. If you two dare to attack anyone in Konoha again, I will kill you immediately. Don't think I can't see it. I'm a sensory ninja. Once you take action, I can sense the changes in your chakra." After saying that, Chinatsu disappeared into the street. "Hey, Omoi, are you okay?" Karu lowered his dislocated right arm and helped Omoi up. "It's okay, I won't die." Omoi was stepped on the head by Chinatsu, and now his head was still a little dizzy, his breathing was disordered, and he was out of breath. Karu glared at Naruto. "Don't think that you saved us, and forget about it. I will report everything to Raikage-sama about today. Whatever you want." Naruto took a deep breath. "So, can we have a good talk now?" Sand Village. At this moment, the entrance of the village was full of people. They were all villagers and ninjas who were sending the Kazakage into guards to attend the 5-Cage summit. Kanka, you are too slow. Temari, who was in charge of the Kazakage's guard, looked at Kankuro who was late with dissatisfaction. This time, she and Kankuro will serve as guards for Kazakage Gaara at the same time. Escort Gaara to the land of Iron to attend the 5-Cage summit initiated by the Raikage and hosted by the Iron Country General Mifune. It can't be helped. I need time to assemble a new type of puppet. Kankuro tightened the puppet scroll on his back and nodded slightly to the Sand Village ninjas who were greeting them. As a response, Kankuro said to Temari with a serious face, speaking of which, the 5-Cage talks initiated by the Raikage this time seemed to be because Akatsuki had captured his younger brother, the 8-Tails Jinchuriki Killer Bee, and the person who captured Killer Bee was Fujiwara Chiya and Uchiha Sasuke. Temari answered with a serious face. Sasuke, and the monster who killed my father? Gaara muttered to himself, and Chiya's figure appeared in the minds of the 3 Kazakage siblings at the same time. It has been 3 years since the last time they met in the true sense. Although the strength of the 3 siblings is no longer what it used to be. But 3 years ago, Chiya defeated many Konoha strongmen including Kakashi, Might Guy, Sarutobi Asuma and others with his own strength, and shocked the 3rd generation Hokage. The scene is still vivid in their minds. In addition, there is Chiya who saved Gaara in the battle to recapture the Kazakage. She is the only ninja in Sand Village who has faced Chiya. After returning to the village, she said nothing. She resumed her old age life. In her words, now is the era of young people, and old antiques should be like old antiques. Also, once you meet Chiya Fujiwara, don't contact her, don't meet her, and don't conflict with her. Run quickly. It's not shameful to escape from that extremely dangerous man, even if he is the Kazakage of the 5 great nations. Gaara, you. Temari looked at Gaara with some concern. Gaara naturally understood what Temari meant, gave the latter a reassuring look, turned and walked out of the village. Let's go. This 5-Cage meeting is not as simple as meeting the other 4 national cages. He also has to explain the dangers of Akatsuki to the cages. Bet on the name of the Kazakage to protect his only friend, Uzumaki Naruto. At the same time, the same thing is happening in the Iwagakure village. The rock ninjas were escorting the 3rd Tsuchikage Inoki and his 2 guards out of the village. Oh my age. I still have to attend the 5-Cage summit. It's very difficult to carry this heavy baggage. You two don't know how to understand an old man like me. Inoki turned his head and glared at the 2 disciples who served as guards, Kurotsuchi and Akaji. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 318, The 5-Cage Talks, Part 2. Kurotsuchi chuckled and said gloatingly, then let's give up the honorary position of Tsuchikage, who represents Iwagakure, for a while. Look at the Sand Village. The current Kazakage is only 16 years old. He's just a brat. Speaking of Sand Village, it's really shameful that even their own Kazakage was killed by Akatsuki. Inoki said gloatingly. By Akatsuki? Kurotsuchi was stunned. Wasn't he killed by Orochimaru? No, Kurotsuchi. Akatsuki explained. The guy Orochimaru who died at the hands of Uchiha was just a clown. The one who really killed the 4th Kazakage was Fujiwara Chiya. I remember that, Kurotsuchi. You seem to have fought with that Fujiwara Chiya. What kind of person is that? No way to fight. When mentioning Chiya, Kurotsuchi's face turned red. She will never forget the scene of the other party touching her thigh and calling her her leg shadow. She will never forget it for the rest of her life. She gnashed her teeth and wished she could eat his flesh, sleep on his skin, strip him naked, and hang him up to beat him. Even so, it was hard to get rid of the hatred in his heart. Old man, by the way, isn't Akatsuki's target the tailed beast? Why did Fujiwara Chiya want to kill the 4th Kazakage? Who knows? Including that unpromising guy Deidara, Akatsuki is made up of S-rank rebels from all over the ninja world. It's impossible to use common sense to speculate. Inoki turned around and thought as he carried the salute on his back. Recently, there has been no news about Deidara. Did he hide? Or was he killed? Or was it, just as he carried the salute on his back, there was a click, and then Inoki screamed. He twisted his waist. The hidden mist village. The elder master of Kurigakure, who has the same power as the Mizukage, held a snake-headed cane, and handed the Mizukage hat to the fifth Mizukage, Meditarumi, and said kindly, then, Medi, oh no, Mizukage-sama, I'll leave this 5-cage meeting to you. Leave it to me, elder master. I'll guarantee the completion of the mission with the name of the Mizukage. Meditarumi took the hat, and raised it above her head. Shiro, ayo, let's go. Yes, teacher, Mizukage-sama. The two responded respectfully and followed closely. Yes, Shiro, who was saved by Chiya in the Land of Waves 3 years ago, replaced Chijiro and the original work in the Killer AO with the Byakugan, and became the Mizukage's bodyguard. Not only that, with the blood limit ice shield, Shiro, who found the meaning of life after Zabuza, has been shining in Kurigakure for 3 years. His strength and achievements have been recognized and appreciated by everyone. Now, he has become the disciple of the 5th Mizukage, Meditarumi, and is being trained as a 6th Mizukage. In addition to escorting the Mizukage to the 5-cage talks, there is another point, that is, to show the strength of the Hidden Mist Village to the other 4 major countries. It shows that the Hidden Mist Village is no longer the Blood Mist Village that was once severely damaged by the Blood Mist policy. Bae, is there something on your mind? Meditarumi asked in surprise when she saw Bae, who was following her, looking a little depressed. Teacher, nothing. Bae shook his head, wanting to say something but stopping, but his hand holding the backpack was tightly clenched. Seeing Bae's expression, that was easy to understand. Meditarumi knew what he was thinking, and asked in a low voice, are you worried about that guy? That guy, of course, refers to Kainai, who took her first kiss when they first met. In the next 6 or 7 years, he repeatedly did that to her, and it became more and more excessive. In the end, he even half-heartedly did it to her. Every time, Meditarumi hated him so much that her teeth itched. But she could do nothing about it. Until the past 6 months, Akatsuki began to move frequently and capture tailed beasts everywhere, and the former restrained himself and stopped bullying her. But Meditarumi was not happy about it. Instead, she was worried about gains and losses. She began to have wild thoughts. She wondered if the other party was tired of her or had a new love. If it weren't for the recent frequent news about Kainai in the ninja world, she would have thought that the other party had been killed. In this contradictory emotion, unknowingly, Meditarumi found that she had completely fallen in love with Kainai. Perhaps this is love over time. Of course, Meditarumi herself would never admit it. In front of outsiders, even in front of Bae, she still changed color when she heard Kainai, and she wanted to eat his flesh alive. Hearing what Meditarumi said, Bae nodded faintly. Teacher, do you think that Lord Kainai will be in trouble? Who knows, this time he caused such a big mess, and he colluded with Uchiha to kidnap the brother of the Raikage. Even if he was killed, he deserved it. Meditarumi turned her head away with a blushing face, and said arrogantly, the teacher is really as inconsistent as always. Bae looked at Meditarumi's arrogant look, and smiled bitterly in his heart. Perhaps even Meditarumi herself didn't know that Bae had already known about the little things between her and Chiya. Bae had even eavesdropped on them before. Chiya did it on purpose. The Killer King didn't know what Bae was thinking, and he echoed earnestly, Lord Mizukage is right. Bae, I know that fellow Fujiwara Chiya once saved you, but you are now Lord Mizukage's disciple. You must know your identity. We are representing Kurigakure at the 5-cage summit this time, and we must put our position in the right place. If the 4 words Lord Chiya are heard by ninjas from other villages, they will most likely be suspicious, and think that Kurigakure is related to the notorious Akatsuki. You must pay attention to this. Yes, Lord King. Bae nodded heavily. Although he said so, he couldn't hide the worry between his brows. He thought to himself, Lord Chiya, how can I repay your kindness to me? Kyuubi. Raikage building. Hidaru. It's time to go. Follow me. The Raikage broke through the window of the Raikage building and rushed to the Iron Kingdom. After nearly half a month of healing and recuperation, Deru and Hai, who had recovered from their injuries, acted as the Raikage's guards and chose to take the stairs. Konoha. Hokage building. Then, it's time for us to go to Chinatsu. Don't mess around there, or I won't take you next time. Tsunade put on the Hokage hat and looked at her daughter, Chinatsu, who was obviously talented but liked to make trouble and had just beaten up 2 cloud ninjas. She was helpless and gave a serious warning. Don't worry, Mom, I'll listen to you when we get there. Chinatsu blinked her cute big eyes and said playfully. At the same time, she added in her heart, of course, if she met her father, it would be another matter. I hope so. Tsunade turned her gaze to Shizune. Where's Kakashi? He was delayed for a while. It seems to be about Naruto. After he finishes talking, he will wait for you at the village entrance. Shizune replied. Naruto, one by one is really a worry for me. Tsunade sighed helplessly, then looked at Jiraiya and said solemnly, then the village is in your hands. Don't worry. Jiraiya nodded heavily and said seriously, go early and come back early. Chapter 319. Ursu's current situation. At the entrance of Konoha village, Tsunade and Chinatsu, who were ready to go, met Kakashi, who had been waiting for a long time under the gaze of many Konoha ninjas and residents. At the same time, Naruto, Yamato and Karin also came. Wherever Naruto appears, there must be Yamato and Karin who can suppress the existence of the Ninetales in Naruto's body. This is already the norm in Konoha. It was only last time, when Pain invaded Konoha. Because of Kainai's obstruction, he didn't go to stop it. Seeing Tsunade coming, Kakashi and the other 3 were scratching their heads. Kakashi, Naruto, Yamato, Karin? Tsunade crossed her arms and stared at the 4 people with a strange look on her face. Tell me, what's going on? Hearing this, Kakashi and the other 4 looked at each other. The eyes look at the nose looks at the heart, and a trace of guilt appeared on their faces, and finally they all looked at Kakashi. Among the 4 of them, except Yamato, they all have selfish motives. It goes without saying that Naruto wants to see the wreckage. Kakashi wanted to help Naruto, to help his teacher's son, to help his own student. As for Karin, she wanted to take this opportunity to see if she could meet the Lady Kainai whom she had been thinking about. Haha. How should I put it, Lady Tsunade? Anyway, Naruto just talked with 2 messengers from Kyuubi and learned about Kainai and Sasuke from them. Naruto wants to go and see the wreckage. Currently, those Kyuubi ninjas have Yamato's would release seeds left on them. Kakashi laughed awkwardly. I don't know if it was because he felt guilty for taking the initiative or because he was afraid that Tsunade would refuse. In that case, the plan would be ruined. I knew it was like this. Tsunade sighed helplessly, suddenly raised her head, and refused with a smile. Of course. No. Why is this? Tsunade-san, please. Naruto rarely acted like a spoiled child. His eyes were wide open, tears flashed, and his pupils were full of innocence. If a cute girl showed this expression, few people could refuse. But Naruto. Ugh. Tsunade gave Naruto a big slap and said, just listen to what I'm saying. A big bump appeared on the latter's head. Kakashi needs to go with me to the 5-cage summit. You are now the key target of Akatsuki. I don't feel at ease with just Karin and Yamato. Tsunade looked at Kakashi. How is Gei's team? Kakashi replied, Ninja, Tenten, and Rocky are fine. They were just hit by Chiya's illusion and have recovered. Gei's injury is more serious, and he needs some time to recover. Tsunade nodded, thought for a moment, and said solemnly, now I order in my capacity as the 5th Hokage that Gei's teammate, and Yamato and Karin will temporarily form a team to escort Naruto to see the wreckage. Because Gei's injury has not healed, and the leader of teammate, Joninyu Kunoha, is on vacation, Yamato will be the team leader. Gather at the village entrance in half an hour. Thanks, Grandma Tsunade. Naruto was overjoyed when he heard this. He pulled up Karin and Yamato and ran to gather people. This guy is as energetic as ever. Tsunade smiled with satisfaction as she watched the 3 people go away. That's what Naruto is all about. Kakashi also smiled, but speaking of which, Lady Tsunade, I haven't seen Kunoha for a long time. Has she been on vacation? When? She's been on vacation for several months. Tsunade sighed and looked up at the sky. She couldn't really tell that Kunoha was pregnant. She couldn't tell. It was because Kunoha knew he was pregnant with Chiya's child, just like her. A spacious and dim stone room somewhere in the land of hot springs. Finally recovered. It's really troublesome that there is no medical ninja in the team. We can only rely on simple medicine and chakra stimulation to recover. Suigetsu moved his hands and feet briefly, unwrapped the bandages on his body and complained. There's nothing we can do about it. Sando was captured by Konoha's ninjas long before he met Uchiha Itachi. The one who spoke was JGO. He had the strongest recovery ability among the 3 members of the Hawk Squad and was the least injured. During this period, he had been communicating with birds to find out the hidden Kyuubi pursuers. That idiot Sando is good for nothing except gambling. In the end, he didn't play any role at all. Suigetsu complained. Don't say that. After all, he was our former companion. At least he didn't betray us, right? JGO corrected. Suigetsu made a TSK sound and looked towards the innermost part of the stone chamber, where a figure was sitting on a giant stone step, looming in the darkness. Sasuke-kun, your injury should be almost healed. Ah, Sasuke's voice came from the darkness, and his eyes opened to reveal a pair of Scholar 3 Magatama Sharingan. He slowly stood up and walked straight to the cave entrance. Where are you going? Suigetsu asked in surprise. First, find a companion with perception and medical ninjutsu, and then go to Konoha. Sasuke paused. Suigetsu was stunned. Konoha? Aren't you waiting for that masked man? I remember you said you wanted to kill that guy called Dan something, who is in the hands of Akatsuki. It's Danzo. Sasuke turned around. His Scholar Sharingan eyes were cold. I'm already impatient. Before the 5th Hokage took office, there were 4 Konoha high-ranking officials, including the deceased 3rd Hokage and Danzo, who was forced to defect by Chiya. That is to say, there were 2 more high-ranking officials hiding in Konoha. At that time, the 4 of them held the highest power in Konoha. Although the order to exterminate the Uchiha clan was issued by the 3rd Hokage and Danzo, the 2 high-ranking officials were undoubtedly accomplices. Another point is that it is still unknown whether Danzo is in the hands of Akatsuki. Therefore, before finding Danzo, I decided to snipe them first. In fact, only Hashira himself knew the real purpose of going to Konoha. It was not the so-called sniping of Konoha high-ranking officials. It was revenge on the entire Konoha. To avenge Konoha, which had gained so-called peace at the cost of sacrificing the Uchiha. He had only told Obito about this. He lied because he knew that if he said he wanted to avenge the entire Konoha, the members of Team Hawk would definitely not agree. They did not have the capacity to challenge a big country. It would be easy to use the excuse of sniping the top leaders of Konoha, but once they were involved in the battle, they would not be able to escape unscathed. Suigetsu sighed and said, it's up to you. Anyway, I can only follow you to the end. Chougo added, you are the reincarnation of Kimimaro. Your will is Kimimaro's will. No matter where you go, I will follow you to the death. This is the agreement between Kimimaro and me. Then let's go. Our destination is Konoha. The corner of the 2nd pillar's mouth slightly raised, and the 3 of them walked out of the cave. Passing by a forest, before they could walk far, they were blocked by a figure. Chapter 320, Great Perfection of Shiangangju. Hey, Sasuke, long time no see. It seems that the injuries you suffered in the battle with the 8 tails have healed. The person who came was wearing a red cloud and black robe, and a vortex mask on his head. It was Obito. It's you? Nibashi frowned and asked coldly, how did you know we were here? Don't underestimate me. Obito narrowed his eyes slightly. I still have this ability. So are you here to hand over Danzo to me? Sasuke said indifferently. No. Obito spread his hands. Sasuke, to be honest, I'm very disappointed in you. It was obvious that Chiya helped you block the reinforcement from the Raikage and the tailed beast ball that could kill you. What does this mean? Sasuke was puzzled. Suigetsu asked doubtfully behind Sasuke, is the 8 tails fake? Obito said, yes, you failed. The Jinchuriki you brought back was just an octopus leg clone. So Sasuke, you didn't fulfill your promise to me. Octopus leg clone. In that situation, if you used a clone, it would not have escaped my eyes. Wait. Sasuke suddenly recalled the scene when he cut off the tentacles of the 8 tails. It seems that you have remembered it. Obito said, but don't worry, I don't mean to blame you, and our deal can continue, as long as you not interested. Sasuke stared at Obito and said coldly, "Get out of the way. As one of the masterminds who ordered the massacre of the Uchiha clan, you are not interested?" Obito was a little surprised. "Of course I'm interested, but how can you prove that Danzo is really in your hands?" Sasuke also learned to be smart. If Obito told Danzo's location, or let him appear in front of him, he would take action directly, and then the ghost would still remember the deal with Obito. Vice versa. "I can't prove it. Danzo has always been in Kyanai's hands." Obito was silent for a while and said. He thought, it seems that Sasuke has learned to be smart. That's it. Anyway, that guy full of evil taste will definitely not hand over Danzo to me so easily. The second pillar slumped and spread his hands, then changed the subject and said seriously, "Get out of my way. Sorry, this is impossible. Maybe you haven't known it yet because you have been recovering from your injuries during this period. Konoha has been destroyed. It was destroyed by my subordinate Pain. Even if you go to Konoha, it will only be a ruin." This is a lie. He still needs Sasuke to go to the Iron Kingdom and make a scene at the 5 Cage talks. "What if I must go?" Sasuke's eyes became colder. "Then, I can only fight you here," Obito threatened. Sasuke did not answer again. A ball of lightning appeared in his hand. With the cry of a Chidori, he released the Chidori and stabbed at Obito, and the result was that the whole person passed through Obito. It actually penetrated completely. Is this his ability? Sasuke turned around and stared at Obito. It was the first time he had seen this kind of ninjutsu. "Have you calmed down? Then let's continue the topic just now." Obito turned and looked at Sasuke. Because Pain went too far, Chiya injured the Raikage and his guards, forced them to kneel, and made the hidden Cloud Village lose face. Right now the 5 Cage summit is being held in the 5 major countries. Among them is the current 5th Hokage, Tsunade. So you should understand. As long as you kill the Hokage, then I will let Chiya hand Danzo over to you. This should be a matter of killing 2 birds with 1 stone for you. Heh. Sasuke smiled sarcastically and disdainfully. "Chiya, that evil guy with enough strength to look down on the entire ninja world, will obey your orders? It's not an order, but cooperation. We have a common goal, which is to rebuild this ninja world." Obito coaxed. "How about it? What do you think?" At the 5 Cage summit, the Hokage will only be accompanied by 2 guards. There is no better opportunity to strike than this. As long as you agree and fight with the Hokage, whether you kill the Hokage or not afterwards, I will give you Danzo as a gift. Hearing this, Sasuke closed his eyes, thought for a moment, and said coldly, "You'd better keep your promise. If you dare to lie to me, or if you can't hand over Danzo, I will kill you immediately." "Of course." Obito tilted his head. "Zito, come out. You really wasted a lot of time talking, Afei." A huge pitcher plant slowly emerged from the tree trunk beside him, and it was actually the voice of Black Zetsu. "Then, White Zetsu, Sasuke will be led by you," Obito said. "Okay." White Zetsu responded and separated from Black Zetsu. The former took the 3 members of the Hawk Squad and quickly disappeared from the sight of Obito and Black Zetsu. "It seems that you are doing well here." Looking at the place where Sasuke disappeared, Black Zetsu said, "Of course. Letting the White Zetsu clone take Sasuke to the 5 Cage meeting hall in the Land of Iron and make a scene was part of the plan." Obito asked casually, "What about the White Zetsu original body? Has Chiya come?" Black Zetsu shook his head, "Not sure. Before White Zetsu approached the clock tower where Nagato originally lived, he was discovered by Chiya's daughter and was almost killed. It seems that Chiya's daughter has also inherited his special perception, and her strength is also quite strong." The little girl said that she would tell Chiya. Chiya's daughter? The figure of Chihiro suddenly appeared in Obito's mind. The girl was too similar to Chiya, both in ability and appearance. If she wasn't Tsunade's daughter, Tsunade is also an older generation of ninja. Obito would have suspected that she was also Chiya's daughter. Forget it. At this point, it doesn't matter what the relationship between the little girl, named Chihiro, and Chiya is. As long as he completes the Moon Eye plan, everything else is meaningless. Thinking of this, Obito said to Black Zetsu, "Let's go. It's almost time for us to act." With Kyanai's personality of loving to join in the fun, he will definitely not miss this 5 Cage summit, as long as he is notified. The highest mountain range outside the Hidden Rain village. the place where the Akatsuki organization's group appeared in the past. Mountain peaks. Clouds. Kainai sat cross-legged with his eyes closed. He placed his hands on his knees, making strange hand seals, his chest rising and falling slightly, and with each breath, a faint blue airflow flowed along his mouth and nose, drilled into his body, flowed to his limbs and meridians, and nourished his bones and body, forming a perfect cycle. And during the circulation of breath, the natural energy in the body gradually converged into the danshin. Finally, a vortex was formed, and then compressed. When it was compressed to the size of a palm, a huge chakra that almost swept the entire mountain suddenly erupted from Kainai's body, and then spread. When everything was calm, the peak had disappeared, and the mountain was in a mess. Kainai slowly opened his eyes, with a cold light in his eyes. Xiangangju, the 10th level, is finally done. Chapter 321 The Truth of the Ninja World, 5K Chapter, please vote. PS. Update first, then correct typos. Fujiwara Chiya, gender, male age. 21 years old. Chakra attributes, fire, lightning, earth, wind, water, yin, yang. Chakra amount, 10,000 card. Secret technique, Xiangangju, the 10th level of perfection. Ninjutsu, fire style. Great fireball technique, fire style. Head hard working shadow clone technique, 3 body technique, instant body technique, Chidori series of ninjutsu, Rasengan series of ninjutsu, lightning style. Pseudo dark wind style. Suppression. Earth style. Earth spear, earth style. Earth flow wall. Water style. Water dragon bullet, water style. Water curtain barrier. Summoning jutsu. Rashomon summoning beasts, crow, Zenaya bloodline, Manjaki Sharingan, dissolution style, boiling style, melting style, storm style, dust style. Wood style. Barrier, Uchiha flame formation, breath barrier, 4 yang formation. Special abilities, sealing technique, observation haki, awakening, predict the future, armament haki, hardening, entanglement, external release, internal destruction. Kyoka Sujetsu, flying thunder god, Susanoo, Kid Encyclopedia, illusion, Katamatsukami, illusion. Sharingan, magic tree binding, illusion 3. Absolute Sakura, Naraku seeing technique, physical skills, great swordsmanship, Konoha basic physical skills, Xiangangju's own moves, Uchiha style. Shuriken throwing, Kunai throwing. Chakra attribute changes, fire, thunder, earth, wind, water, yin, yang. Warehouse, Zanpakuto. Kyoka Sujetsu, Kunai x 1225, Shuriken x 2311, some clothes, Danzo, live, stand-in steak x 179. Zimu river water, I love a che, Senzu beans x 3341. Samzurai, Madara, Urashiki, dead. It took 15 years to finally reach the last level. The chakra from the 9th to the 10th level directly increased by 5,000 calories. It's really not easy. Kainai smiled. He got this ghost way from Xiaonan. Looking towards the direction of the hidden rain village, a black dot gradually enlarged and then turned into a graceful figure and landed in front of him. It was Xiaonan. Is the training over? Xiaonan gently stepped forward to help Kainai smooth his slightly messy collar and then walked behind him to gently stroke the dust on his body. It's over for the time being. Kainai turned around and hugged her, smiling. Is it Beisetsu who came? Yeah. That guy sneaked into the hidden rain village and was discovered by Konoha. It seems that the masked man invited you to the Iron Kingdom to discuss something important. If nothing unexpected happens, it will be the 5 talks that shook the ninja world recently. Xiaonan, who was a new wife, seemed a little restrained. When Kainai hugged her, her pretty face instantly blushed and nodded. That's interesting. It's a good time to meet those old friends who haven't seen each other for a long time. Kainai thought of Terumi Mei, but he didn't know if Bei would follow him. After all, the original person who acted as the bodyguard of Terumi Mei was Chihiro and the white-eyed killer Ryo. Old friend? Xiaonan was stunned, with a puzzled look on his face. Is Kainai familiar with the cages of the 5 great kingdoms? Yes. Kainai nodded, without denying. Among the 5 great kingdoms, 2 are sisters, and one of them has a daughter with me. Xiaonan was shocked when she heard this and couldn't help but glance at Kainai. Among the current 5 cages, that such a cage is a dying old man, The Kazukage is an underage kid, and the Reikage is a rough old man. Only the Mizukage and the Hokage are female. Don't tell me that both of them have an affair with you. Wait, the woman of the 5th Hokage, can't she be yours? Smart. Kainai kissed Xiaonan. After getting confirmation, Xiaonan didn't know how to evaluate Kainai. Should I say that he is really a playboy? He even got the hand of Tsunade, one of the legendary 3 ninjas. Xiaonan continued to ask, what about the 5th Mizukage Meditarumi? This is a long story. I'll explain it to you later. He was reluctant to talk about Meditarumi, but he couldn't say it. The north wind was howling, and the snow was flying. Samu, Omoi, and Karu, who went to Konoha to distribute the invitation letter for the 5-Kage summit, finally arrived at the Iron Kingdom to meet with the Reikage and his guards before the 5-Kage summit began. Lord Reikage, we have delivered the letter. The Hokage is now on his way to the 5-Kage summit. If nothing goes wrong, he has arrived. In addition, we have also obtained information about Uchiha Sasuke and Fujiwara Chiya from Konoha. Samu handed a scroll to the Reikage. When Chiya was mentioned, his brows were obviously furrowed. Obviously, Chiya's strength is more difficult than she thought. Not only is he proficient in illusion and physical skills, he defeated the powerful Reikage and the elite Jonin Steru and Z of Kyuubi with these 2 skills alone. He is also proficient in all 5 elements of escape techniques. He also has outstanding achievements in barrier. He is simply an all-round ninja, a unique hexagonal warrior. Thank you for your hard work. The Reikage took the scroll, his brows also furrowed, but he didn't say much, just uttered 3 words lightly. He knew that at this point, it would be meaningless to say more. Fujiwara Chiya alone is beyond the scope of Kyuubi to deal with, not to mention Akatsuki, who has collected 8 tailed beasts including his brother. At this critical moment, the 5 major countries must unite. Z put it away. The Reikage handed the intelligence scroll to Z. Yes. Z took the scroll and was about to put it away, but suddenly seemed to sense something, and the movement of his hand stopped abruptly, counting silently in his heart. 1, 2, 8, 9, 10. There were actually 10. What's wrong? Samu asked in surprise. Samu, you're being followed. Z put away the scroll, looked at the 3 o'clock slope, and said sternly, come out, Konoha's lackeys. As soon as the voice fell, 10 Konoha ninjas led by Naruto rushed out from behind the slope. If Tsunade and the others were here, they would definitely find that there was one more person in the team she originally planned to form, Sakura Hiruno, who escaped death after being stabbed by Pain. After hearing that Naruto was going to find the Reikage, she followed him shamelessly. I have something to talk to you about. Naruto looked straight at the Reikage. Karen and Yamato accompanied them. Behind them were Team 8, Hinata, Kiba and Izuka, Shino, Team Gay, Niji, Tenten, Rock Lee, and Sakura, who had the least presence. Z frowned and whispered in the Reikage's ear, Lord Reikage, these people have strong chakra, especially the blonde and red-haired ones opposite. Deru also put away his usual laziness and frowned. Boss, I'm afraid the other party has no good intentions. Do you want me to? As he said that, Deru made a gesture of drawing a sword. The Reikage raised his hand, and Nozomi and Deru nodded and returned to their original positions. He glanced at the people opposite him, and finally landed on Yamato, the only one wearing a Konoha Jonin vest, and asked sternly, Konoha's Jonin, before you take action, I want to know if it was the Hokage who ordered you to come? Your Excellency, the Reikage has misunderstood. We are not here to fight. The reason why we came with so many people this time is entirely because the Hokage is concerned about the Jinchuriki. No. Yamato shook his head, turned his gaze to Naruto, and explained, it's out of consideration for Uzumaki Naruto's safety. I'm sure you also know that Akatsuki is now hunting down the tailed beasts everywhere. Is this guy the Nine-Tails Jinchuriki? Uzumaki has the same surname as the 4th Hokage's wife, the predecessor of the Nine-Tails Jinchuriki. Is he the 4th Hokage's child? The Reikage looked at Naruto's appearance and quickly guessed his identity. He continued to ask, then why did the Hokage call you here? I'll escort Naruto to see you. Yamato didn't keep him in suspense any longer, looking at Naruto and said, Tsunade-sama believes in Naruto, so when Naruto asked to see you, she agreed without hesitation. Then don't waste your time. Tell me, Kid, what do you want from me? The Ray Kid said impatiently. Although he said so, his eyes never left Naruto, and his mind was immersed in the memories of the battle with the fourth Hokage. Under the gaze of everyone, Naruto took a step forward and said shockingly, I hope you will withdraw the order to execute Brother Chiya and Sasuke. As soon as these words came out, everyone in Kyuubi was stunned, and they looked at Naruto again, as if they were looking at a fool. Especially Omoi and Karu, who were beaten by Chinatsu. Naruto had made such a request to them before in Konoha, and now he dared to ask them again. Do you really not know that Akatsuki is capturing Jinchuriki, or are you pretending not to know? Don't you know that you are also in their target? Naruto continued, I know this is too much, but I can only do this. Brother Kyuubi is my family, and Sasuke is my friend. I can't just stand by and watch my family and friends being killed. Besides, I don't want Konoha and Kyuubi to fall into a cycle of revenge because of what happened to Brother Kyuubi and Sasuke. As expected, he is the son of the fourth Hokage, and he is as naive as him. Seeing Naruto like this, the Ray Kid said nothing, avoided Naruto's position, and continued to move forward. Naruto hurriedly chased after him, and when he got in front of the Ray Kid, he actually knelt down with a plop. But the Ray Kid still chose to ignore it, bypass Naruto, and continued to move forward, until Naruto's pleading voice sounded again behind him, and then he stopped. Please, I don't want to kill each other for revenge. Naruto raised his face, stroked his belly with a lonely look, and said, Kyuubi. Brother Kyuubi's parents were killed by the nine tails in my body the year I was born. He was less than 6 years old at that time. Even so, he did not hate me or resent me. Instead, he was the first person in the village to look at me with normal eyes and recognize me. The first person who did not regard me as a demon fox. Because he knew that we were all victims. But, since that incident, because of the darkness of the village, he changed. He became a stranger, and no longer trusted everyone. He joined Akatsuki, and took revenge on all those who had hurt him. But even so, he never killed irrelevant people, let alone his former friends. And Sasuke only thought about revenge, and because he did not have the strong strength of Brother Kyuubi, he began to desperately pursue power. Revenge led him to the same path as Brother Kyuubi. Controlled by hatred, he completely changed, and became very strange. He was no longer the person I used to be familiar with. I don't want anyone to repeat their mistakes, and I don't want Konoha and Kyuubi to kill each other again. So, Naruto, who was kneeling on the ground, burst into tears when he said this. He recalled the past with Chiya and Sasuke, and his tears could no longer be stopped, melting the snow under him. Naruto. Everyone in Konoha was deeply moved by Naruto's words. They were all infected by Naruto's words. Not to mention them, even the Kyuubi side was touched for a moment. But this still couldn't change their determination for revenge. The Ray Kid turned around and glared at Naruto. We will kill Fujiwara Chiya and Uchiha Sasuke, and then you can give up revenge. Yamato saw that the Ray Kid was still indifferent and couldn't bear it anymore, so he said in a deep voice, Sir Ray Kid, the matter of you targeting Konoha's Byakugan has not been completely resolved. For Kyuubi, which planted the seeds of war, Konoha swallowed its teeth and blood, and did not start a war. For this, Konoha paid a huge price. I hope you don't forget it. Yamato stepped aside, and looked at Hinata and Neji, the young lady of the Hyuga family who was kidnapped by your order and the son of Hisashi who was killed by you. Kyuubi are here now. I wonder what you think now? Hyuga. Everyone in Kyuubi looked at Hinata and Neji, and was slightly startled. Then the scene of Chiya forcing them to kneel appeared in the minds of the Ray Kid, Nozomi, and Eru. At that time, Chiya refuted their Kyuubi's despicableness on the grounds that Kyuubi had killed Hisashi. Among the three, Z was the most impulsive. He couldn't control his emotions and shouted excitedly, "Stop talking to me about the past. Even if Kyuubi once targeted Byakugan, so what? The death of Hisashi was nothing but the incompetence of your Konoha's superiors. Even a 3-year-old child knew that Kyuubi, like Konoha, had just experienced the Third Ninja World War and was unable to start a war. It was the cowardice of your Konoha's third Hokage that led to the surrender of Hisashi. What are you thinking? Do you know what Fujiwara Chiya did to Lord Ray Kid? If you don't know, stop talking to me about the past. After speaking in one breath, Z gasped for breath because he was too angry, and the faces of the other people in Kyuubi also showed anger. Naruto was stunned and looked back at the Raikage. What did Brother Chiya do to you? The Raikage did not answer, but glanced at Hinata and Niji from the corner of his eyes, and scolded his subordinates. Don't say unnecessary words, Z. Sorry, Lord Raikage. Z hurriedly apologized. When he heard it, the Raikage raised his hand and glared at Naruto. Ninjas cannot bow their heads easily. What ninjas should respect is strength and action. Conversations between ninjas must never compromise. Human history is the history of war. After the end of the Third Ninja War, all countries and villages have been constantly acquiring powerful ninjutsu. The weak are strong, and the strong are respected. This is the truth of the ninja world. After being captured by Uchiha, we failed in the face of Fujiwara Chiya, who was left behind. Fujiwara Chiya threatened to massacre the entire Kyuubi and forced Z, Deru and me to kneel down. The evidence is here. The Raikage tore off his white robe, revealing a hideous and terrifying, narrow scar that stretched from his left shoulder to his right hip. Deru and Z looked at each other in the shocked eyes of everyone in Konoha. The former rolled up his shirt, revealing a hideous scar that was exactly the same as the Raikage's. The latter added, "This is the eternal shame of our Kyuubi. The guy who took away Kyuubi and insulted Lord Raikage must never be forgiven. How could this happen?" Naruto collapsed on the ground in dismay, and then heard the Raikage say, "At that time, Fujiwara Chiya chose to sit in the direction of Konoha and asked us to kneel down. He also mentioned the Byakugan incident in advance. I don't know if he did it on purpose or just wanted to kill people, but we still knelt down. There's nothing to complain about. As I said before, the strong prey on the weak. Akatsuki is an internationally wanted criminal. In this case, not only me, but the entire ninja world will target Fujiwara Chiya and Sasuke. Pleading for criminals and begging for mercy for the safety of companions is not friendship at all in the world of ninjas. Little kid from Konoha, think about what you should do. Z, Deru, Samu, Omoi, Karu, let's go." After saying that, the Raikage took a step and appeared on a tree dozens of meters away. In a few flashes, he disappeared. The rest of the Kyuubi people glared at Naruto and followed him. Brother Niji, Brother Chiya. Looking at the place where the Raikage and his group disappeared, Hinata had a complicated expression and turned her eyes to Niji. Niji closed his eyes and shook his head, but his mind had changed a little bit about Chiya. Perhaps, the guy in his cousin's mind was not as evil as he imagined. Whether it was intentional or unintentional, let the Raikage kneel in the direction of his father's death. Now I owe him a big favor. The address of the 5 cage talks is located in a 3-headed giant monster skeleton in the Iron Country. There are fully armed warriors wearing masks and peeping around the skeleton to protect the skeleton from wind and snow. There is a different world inside, surrounded by giant buildings. In the center of the building, between the monster skull skeletons, a tower-shaped building rises from the ground. Hokage, this is it. Kakashi looked at the monster skeleton in front and pointed his hand. Well, go in. Tsunade nodded, took off the Hokage's hat from her waist, and stepped into it. Chinatsu and Kakashi followed closely behind. Chinatsu looked around, her perception and observation haki unscrupulously scanning everything in the building. When she scanned the northwest direction, her pretty face showed a meaningful smile. Has that guy Nezuzi come? This time, maybe I can really see my father this time. Kakashi, who was walking side by side with Chinatsu and was one step behind Tsunade, noticed that Chinatsu was abnormal and asked hesitantly, "Chinatsu, did you find anything?" "Ah, it seems that a middle school boy has sneaked in with a few mice." Chinatsu nodded. "It seems that the target is still my mother." "Middle school boy." Kakashi's face sank. "Is it Sasuke?" "The target is the Hokage. Except for Sasuke, who is determined to take revenge on Konoha because of Itachi. He can't think of anyone else who would intend to harm the Hokage." Chinatsu nodded slowly, with a mysterious smile on her face. "Except for the second pillar, there is no one else. But there is no substantial killing intention. It seems that it should be just pretending. After all, the Uchiha clan's affairs have nothing to do with my mother. Maybe they just want to make a big fuss and disrupt the 5 cage talks. PS. Please recommend votes. monthly votes, and subscriptions. Update first, then correct typos. Chapter 322 Chinatsu, Two More Mothers. In a dark corner of the 5-cage summit building, one can look down on the outsiders. It looks like the Hokage has arrived. Sasuke. Haha, I didn't expect that Hatake Kakashi and the little girl who defeated you would follow. What are you going to do? White Zetsu stood beside Sasuke, looking at Tsunade, Kakashi, and Chinatsu passing by below. They were surrounded by Iron Country samurai guards, and asked sinisterly with a slight smile on his face. Sujetsu was standing by, and asked with some concern, "Hey, Sasuke, are we really going to attack them? Let's not talk about the Hokage and the copy ninja who has the same Sharingan as you. Even that yellow-haired kid gives me a very dangerous feeling. Like." Without waiting for Sujetsu to finish, JGO stepped forward and said, "Like Fujiwara Chiya, right?" Sujetsu nodded heavily, and listened to Beizetsu. "Of course, strictly speaking, that kid named Chiya is still Chiya's disciple. He has learned some of Chiya's ninjutsu, so his strength is naturally good. Sasuke, do you want to attack? They are not on guard now. If you use Amaterasu, you may be able to kill them with one blow." Beizetsu looked at Sasuke and persuaded him. Sasuke did not answer, but just looked at Tsunade and the other two quietly below. After a long while, he finally said, "Let's hide for now, and wait until the 5-cage talks are over before we attack." After saying that, he disappeared without caring about Sujetsu, JGO and Beizetsu. "Hey, wait for us." Sujetsu complained and followed closely with JGO. Only White Zetsu stayed where he was. He smiled sinisterly, performed the mayfly technique, and slowly merged into the ground of the building. Chihiro, who was following Tsunade below, noticed the departure of several people, stopped and looked back. "Chihiro, have they followed us?" Kakashi asked in a low voice. No, it seems that they don't intend to do it now." Chihiro looked at the ground, but there was a little mouse that swam under our feet and went to the meeting place of the 5 shadows first. "Is that the guy who swam under our feet?" The figure of Zetsu appeared in Kakashi's mind. "Okay, don't say anything more. Those who should come out will come out by themselves." Tsunade frowned and urged Kakashi and Chihiro to continue moving forward. Soon, the 3 of them came to the top floor of the tower-shaped building. This is a huge conference room. There is a U-shaped conference table in the conference room. Behind the conference table are 5 flags of water, wind, fire, earth, and thunder, representing the 5 shadows. Mizukage Meditarumi, Kazukage Gaara, Itsukage Noki, and Reikage AI have all arrived. As the host of this meeting, the general of the Iron Country, Mifune, sat at a separate conference table opposite the U-shaped table. Seeing Tsunade coming, the 4 cages had different expressions. As the Kazukage of an ally, Gaara nodded to Tsunade kindly. That Tsuchikage relied on his age, and as a ninja from the same period as the 3rd Hokage, he thought that the so-called Sannin were just brats in his eyes. Even the Reikage was just a troublemaker. Although he had the bloodline to eliminate the dust escape, he had the confidence. On the contrary, Meditarumi, who had little contact with Tsunade, reacted most naturally. Of course, these were all temporary. When she saw the pure gold ring on Tsunade's left ring finger, she was stunned. My goodness, the guy who had raped her before, wouldn't he also? The real age of this Hokage is over 50 years old. How could he do it? Thinking of this, Meditarumi once again looked Tsunade up and down. This figure was the first time she saw someone with a figure better than her own. With that guy's character, it was really possible. As for the Reikage, Hokage, you're late. Seeing Tsunade's late arrival, the Reikage, who had been angry for a long time because of Konoha's traitorous ninjas, seemed to have found someone to vent his anger on. It was all because of Konoha's indulgence of traitorous ninjas. Didn't His Highness the Reikage just arrive? Tsunade ignored the murderous look of the Reikage and pulled out a chair and sat down. With Chinatsu's powerful perception, Tsunade could not hide the actions of everyone in the building from her eyes. What did you say? The Reikage was furious and stood up suddenly with a slap on the table. With a click, the wooden U-shaped tablet top exploded instantly. The meeting had not yet begun, and the air was suddenly filled with the smell of gunpowder. As the host, Mifune could not stand it and stepped out to smooth things over. Lord Reikage, Please calm down. This is the 5 cage talks initiated by you. Please do not do anything to disrupt the talks. Mifune had to give face to him. Hearing this, the Ray Kid snorted, crossed his arms, and sat down with a gloomy face. Lord Hokage, welcome. Mifune nodded with satisfaction, and greeted Tsunade again. Then he looked around, and signaled the 5 cage to put down their bamboo hats and the guards, to stand behind the flags representing their respective cages. The 5 cage talks officially began. Chinatsu had no intention of paying attention to the intrigues of these adults and old men. She was not interested in reading Meditarumi's thoughts. After learning about her love history with her father, she stroked her smooth forehead with a headache. Her eyes turned to another person she was interested in. Shiro, who was standing behind the Mizukage flag. Between the two were old acquaintances Kankuro and Temari. Temari's sister, can Kanpachiro change places with me? Chinatsu asked in a low voice. I've told you so many times, my name is Kanpachiro. Kanpachiro's mouth twitched. He didn't know where this little girl learned it from, always calling him Kanpachiro like Deidara. Kankuro, don't be unreasonable. Temari glared at Kanpachiro. She was still very grateful to the little girl who saved her brother Gaara. Although it was unexpected that the Hokage asked Chinatsu to follow, it was not surprising considering her strong strength that was extremely inconsistent with her age. Half squatting down, she asked with concern, Chinatsu, can you tell me why you want to change places? I'm more interested in the sister over there. Chinatsu did not hide it. Hearing this, Temari glanced at Haku and the killer Ao from the Kirigakure side, frowned slightly, and stepped aside, while reminding them in a voice that only the two of them could hear. Kirigakure is different from the Sand village that is friendly with Konoha. They pursue a policy of isolation and once implemented the cruel blood mist policy. You should be careful. Chinatsu nodded slowly. While the two were talking, Haku and the Byakugan killer Ao also noticed them. Ao asked in confusion, Haku, do you know the girl who came with the Hokage? Haku shook his head and looked at Chinatsu who was walking over with a bewildered look on his face. Chinatsu stopped half a meter away from Haku, showing a harmless smile, and asked knowingly, Sister, you are so beautiful. My name is Chinatsu. Can you tell me your name? P.S. Please recommend on monthly votes. Chapter 323 The Fourth Ninja World War. Outside the tower-shaped building of the 5 cage summit, Black Zetsu, who had separated from White Zetsu, and Obito, who was wearing a black robe with red clouds and an orange spiral mask, stood in the snow. Are you ready? Obito asked casually. The White Zetsu clone is ready. Black Zetsu nodded. Obito continued to ask, what about Chiya? Is there any news? I don't know. The clock tower where Pain originally lived in the Hidden Rain village is our forbidden area. If you enter Ashley, you will be killed instantly. Black Zetsu sighed. We can only hope that he receives the message sent by the White Zetsu body. Forget it. It doesn't matter if he doesn't come. Sasuke's enough for the battle. Anyway, I'm not here to participate in the battle this time. Obito said indifferently. While the two were talking, a pair of arms were placed on their shoulders, and Kainai's voice was heard at the same time. Sorry, I lost my way on the road of life, and kept you waiting for a long time. Obito and Black Zetsu suddenly became alert, and their figures flashed and suddenly retreated, pulling away from Kainai. They didn't breathe a sigh of relief until they saw Kainai's familiar figure. I said, do you need to be so exaggerated? After all, we are companions, and I won't eat you. Kainai said with a harmless face. The corners of Obito's mouth under the mask twitched fiercely, thinking, why did you suddenly appear in front of others? Don't you have any idea? And Black Zetsu said slightly euphemistically, that's because you are too elusive. So, what time is the 5 cage talks now? Kainai said, releasing his observation haki. He began to sense and ask himself, have the 5 cage arrived? There is a White Zetsu also staying in the meeting room of the 5 cage. Oh, and there is also Jiraiya. He really has no memory. Aren't you afraid of being beaten to death when he ran to this place? Obito heard that Kainai had found out the situation in the building where the 5 cages met in just a moment, and he couldn't help but become more and more apprehensive. He said in a deep voice, since you are already here, it's just right. Come and listen to my plan. Are you finally going to get serious? I'm all ears. Kainai's smile faded. I guess you already know about the failure to capture the 8 tails, and the same is true for the 9 tails. Pain betrayed us and chose to use the ultimate eye technique of the Samsara eye, Samsara naturalization, to resurrect everyone in Konoha, including the previously dead Jiraiya. Obito said in a deep voice. The outer path demon statue must use the Samsara eye to control the air. So do you want me to help you recover the Samsara eye? Kainai said indifferently. Hearing that the Samsara eye had not fallen into Kainai's hands, Obito and Black Zetsu could not help but feel happy. They naturally could not let Kainai retrieve it. Otherwise, it would be like a sheep falling into the tiger's mouth, and it would be difficult to spit it out again. That's not necessary. Obito skipped the previous topic. The most important thing right now is to recover the 8 tails and the 9 tails, and prepare for the Moon Eye project. Sasuke's disturbance at the 5-cage summit was just a cover. Next, I plan to use war to force the 5 major countries to hand over the 8 tails and the 9 tails. The 4th Ninja World War? Kainai showed an interested look. Very good suggestion. One of the most powerful factors that unites people is a common enemy. The ninja world today is really too bad. Even the 5-cage are just stands with slightly stronger strength. A single ninja village is simply vulnerable. Only when the 5 major countries unite will it be interesting. Then, what do you need me to do? To intimidate the 5-cage? Yes. Obito admitted frankly, because of the existence of your apprentice, my abilities have been completely cracked. Now that I'm regaining my Samsara eye, I don't have enough power to start this war. If it weren't for Chinatsu, then with the help of Kamu, he could naturally come and go in the 5-cage summit. But with Chinatsu's bug, if things go wrong, he would be united with the 5-cage, and he would most likely stay there forever. So we need Kainai's help. Kainai agreed immediately. Then leave it to me. I'm looking forward to what level the 5 shadows have reached now. Obito said, well, Naruto has also come to the Iron Kingdom. It seems that he wants to ask for mercy from you and Sasuke with the Raikage. I plan to talk to him next. You just wait for me here. I will use Kami to take you in later. Of course, you can go to Naruto's place with me first. I'm really looking forward to talking to him, since I was able to convince Nagato to sacrifice himself to revive the dead in Konoha. Kainai shook his head. No need. It's nothing more than Jiraiya's idea of achieving peace through mutual understanding. It's too naive. As for the 5 shadows talks, I'll go in by myself. At this point, Kainai looked at Black Zetsu. 6th brother, do you want to go in with me? I don't have the same strong strength as you. I'll wait for you here. Black Zetsu heard this and shook his head quickly. The reason why it has been able to live for so many years is not because of the Mayfly technique, nor because of immortality. It's just one word, go. As long as its mother Kaguya Otsutsuki does not resurrect, it will continue to live. Whatever you want. Kainai said, flicking his right sleeve, quietly grasping his Zanpakuto in his hand, and slowly walked into the building. Who is coming? The 5-cage talks are going on here. No entry is allowed. Red Cloud and Black Robe, it's Akatsuki. Hurry up. Inform Lord Dokisuke and Lord Sake. When Kainai approached, those Iron Kingdom guarding the periphery of the building soon discovered Kainai, and the scene was not unexpectedly in turmoil. Drawing out their samurai, injecting chakra, swinging their sword energy, and launching long-range attacks on Kainai in an orderly manner, the leading few samurai hurriedly ordered their subordinates to use the radio to communicate with the 2 direct subordinates of the Iron Kingdom General Mifune. Kainai did not give them time to react. If they were discovered too early, it would be too boring. While waving his Zanpakuto to suppress the sword energy of the samurai, he cast an illusion. In an instant, in the eyes of the samurai, a big tree sprang out from under the feet of all the samurai, instantly binding them. It turns out that the illusion cannot be solved. Damn it. The samurai tried to suppress it, but in front of the gap like a chasm, everything seemed so vulnerable. The sound of falling to the ground continued to ring out. The samurai lost consciousness and lay on the ground, unable to move. They could only watch Kainai walk past them. Afei, is this okay? The strongest fighters in the ninja world are gathered inside. Especially that Sachikage, who has the blood inheritance elimination, does escape, but he is an antique leftover from the first generation of Hokage. It is still unknown whether Kainai knows his information. Looking at Kainai disappearing at the entrance of the dark skeleton building, Black Zetsu said to Obito. It's not that Black Zetsu is worried about Kainai, but he is reluctant to give up this powerful chess piece. If he died like this, the time for his mother Kaguya Otsutsuki to resurrect will be delayed. Chapter 324, Chinatsu catches White Zetsu. It's the end of the month. Please give me a monthly ticket. It doesn't matter. Chiya is an unstable factor. Once she fights with the 5 cage, even if she can't defeat that Sachikage, she can still severely injure the other cage, and even kill 3 or 2 of them, and then weaken the power of the 5 great nations. No matter what the result is, it will be 100 benefits for us. After saying that, Obito's right eye distorted the space, and disappeared on the spot. I'm Mifune, the host of this meeting. Now let's start the 5 cage talks. 5 cage talks meeting room. Mifune's eyes swept over the 5 cage one by one, kicking off the meeting. The scene suddenly became quiet, and Gaara, the Kazakage, spoke first. I'll speak first, you guys listen to me. Before Gaara could finish his words, Anoki, the old antique among the 5 cage, interrupted him in a sarcastic tone. The 5 cage have really changed a lot. You've become a cage at this age. It's really a young man to be feared, Your Highness. Kazakage, it seems that your father has taught you well. That's why I'm sitting here as the Kazakage. Compared with the middle school boy 3 years ago, Gaara is now much calmer. He didn't care about Anoki's provocation, but began to explain the dangers of the Akatsuki organization. This made Anoki feel like punching cotton. The meeting went on as usual. Next, it was the turn of the Raikage, the initiator of this meeting, to speak. The Akatsuki organization of Konoha, Rock, Sand, and Mist is composed of the rebellious ninjas from your village. To be honest, I never believed that I was here to hold you accountable today. He held the 4 nations accountable right from the start and pointed out that Sachikage had used Akatsuki. Gaara's worldview was instantly overturned. He didn't expect that the 5 great nations had become so corrupt. That Sachikage also expressed his concerns for national interests. As soon as the meeting began, there was a huge quarrel, and the Raikage argued with the crowd. In the end, the spearhead was directed at the closed-off Kirigakure, questioning whether Kirigakure was the birthplace of the Akatsuki organization. In response, Terumi Mei did not hide it anymore, and revealed the secret, that the 4th generation Mizukage Yagura was once controlled by the Sharingan. Without the intervention of Danzo, Mifune was not controlled by Katamatsukami, and proposed to form a ninja coalition. Tsunade also concealed part of the Akatsuki out of selfishness, because Chiya and Nagato sacrificed themselves to revive the entire village of Konoha and atone for their sins. The meeting fell into a stalemate. This meeting is really boring, Sister Bay. Chinatsu, who was standing behind the 5 cage flag, was a little impatient, and pouted at Bay, whom she had just met, and complained. After all, this is an extraordinary period. Be patient. Bay half crouched down, put her right hand on Chinatsu's shoulder, and didn't comment. She knew that Kirigakure was originally the suspect of the Raikage, but from this little sister, she seemed to see the shadow of Kainai. Is it an illusion? Then I'll find some fun in this boring meeting. The 5 shadow flags moved without wind, and Chinatsu's mouth slightly raised. Her figure flashed, and she was already on the table in front of Tsunade to the right. So fast. The people present were all the best in the ninja world. Almost at the moment, when the flags were dancing, they cast their eyes on Chinatsu. Everyone sighed in their hearts. Chinatsu raised her slender white little hand, turned back to make a face at Tsunade, looked around and said, "Sorry, can the meeting be suspended for now? Why? You are so disrespectful. If you don't tell me the reason, even if you are the daughter of the Hokage, I will not let you go easily." The Raikage glanced at Tsunade, and seeing that she did not stop him, he stared at Chinatsu and asked sternly. The other shadows also cast curious eyes. Because, after the words fell, Chinatsu had already come to the center of the U-shaped table. Her right hand was filled with chakra. She threw a punch, and the ground instantly collapsed. A ball of pure white was pulled out from the ground. It was actually White Zetsu. This is, except for Tsunade and Kakashi, who had already known that White Zetsu had sneaked into the 5 cage talks, everyone else was nervous. including Kakashi. The remaining 9 cage guards and 2 subordinates of Mifune protected their own cage in generals. He is a member of the Akatsuki organization. That Sachikage recognized White Zetsu. One after another. The Raikage stood behind Nozomi and Eru, his face gloomy and terrifying. You really have the same perception as Chinatsu, and you can detect our existence. With Chinatsu holding the neck, White Zetsu spoke with difficulty. He wanted to ask Chinatsu if she was Chinatsu's daughter like Chika. Chinatsu did not give it a chance to speak. With a little force from her 5 fingers, with a click, White Zetsu's neck was broken. Look carefully, there are indeed some similarities. Could she be the daughter of that bastard? Meditarumi glanced at Tsunade meaningfully, then turned to Chinatsu and asked, there is no need to kill him. Catch him and interrogate him. Maybe we can get information about Akatsuki. Gara answered from the side. Akatsuki is a group of desperate criminals with various hobbies. They will not leak information. That's it. Chinatsu threw the body of White Zetsu aside, turned and looked at Mifune. Speaking of which, Uncle Samurai, you guys have an intruder running in, and you didn't even notice it. The security measures are too poor. Intruder? Mifune was stunned, then heard Chinatsu say, yes, it's the second pillar of the rebellious ninja in our village, Uchiha Sasuke, and his 2 companions. What? The Raikage slammed the table and asked harshly, Sasuke? Where is Sasuke? The Raikage hated Sasuke for capturing Kyuubi, and he wished he could skin him alive. Black Ghost, isn't the yellow-haired guy beside you also a sensing ninja? Let him sense it, and you will know. The chakra of the second pillar is easy to identify. Chihiro spat lightly. Black Ghost. Everyone at the scene had black lines on their heads and looked up and down at the Raikage again. After a closer look, he was indeed quite black, and the Deru beside him was not white either. Tsunade suppressed her smile and symbolically scolded, Chihiro, don't be rude to the Raikage. Chihiro crossed her arms, snorted, and turned her head away proudly. She would not apologize to this guy who hated her father. I'm sorry, Mr. Raikage. Chihiro is still young, please don't take it to heart. Tsunade suppressed a smile and apologized to the Raikage. The Raikage snorted coldly and ignored him, shouting to Z, hurry up, sense Sasuke's position for me. Without the Raikage saying anything, Z had already started to sense. After confirming the position, the Raikage punched through the wall and rushed towards Sasuke. Old man, what should we do? Akatsuki asked that Sachikage with his head down. Don't bother with them. My back hurts. Let them go. Sachikage crossed his arms. Then I'll go. Old man. Kurotsuchi grinned and pointed at himself. Sachikage narrowed his eyes slightly, glanced at Kurotsuchi, and did not refuse. It's up to you, but don't get involved in the battle of the Raikage. You will die. Okay. Kurotsuchi followed the direction where the Raikage left. PS. Please recommend on monthly votes. Chapter 325 Uzi gets beaten every day. Mizukage-sama, what about us? Shiro leaned close to Terumi's ear and asked softly. Sasuke once blocked her Senbon as Naruto, and the 2 of them were old acquaintances. If possible, she didn't want Sasuke to die here. Just wait here. It's hard to say whether the Uchiha boy can pass the Raikage. Terumi looked at Tsunade and Chinatsu, mother and daughter, and answered. Compared to Sasuke, she was more interested in Tsunade who held the pure gold ring and Chinatsu who was suspected to be Chiya's daughter. Kirigakure and Sachigakure chose to watch, and the samurai as the host naturally couldn't do so. Mifune saw that the Hokage had no intention of taking action, and asked aloud, Hokage-sama, Uchiha Sasuke is a traitor ninja from your village. Next, we samurai will also participate in the capture. Do you have any objection? Of course. Tsunade sighed helplessly and lay directly on the table. Kakashi, who was standing beside her, was worried about Sasuke, his former student, but he also knew that this was not the time to let his emotions get the better of him. He leaned over to Chihiru's ear and whispered, Chihiru, you just... He wanted to ask Chihiru why she knew Sasuke had sneaked in here and chose to expose herself at this time. Because he just revealed his killing intentions towards my mother. Chihiru's face suddenly turned cold, and she said in a deep voice. While the 2 were talking, Gaara had already moved. From Sasuke, he saw his former self. Unable to bear Sasuke's death, He chose to go and try to save Sasuke for Naruto. And just as they left, the two guards next to Mifune who were in charge of commanding the samurai to search for Sasuke finally realized that something was wrong. Mifune-sama, something happened. The 3, 7, and 9 teams patrolling outside the building have lost contact. Rikaku said anxiously. It's the same here. The 5 and 13 teams. No, the samurai on the first 3 floors have all lost contact. Akatsuki put down the radio at his neck, and cold sweat broke out between his brows. Hearing this, Mifune stood up suddenly, unable to keep his original calm. What on earth is going on? For this 5-cage meeting, I arranged to fight a large number of samurai. So many people, were they all killed by Uchiha Sasuke? Not to mention them, even the remaining 3 parties of Konoha, Iwagakure, and Kirigakure were shocked. You know, although the Iron Country has no ninjas, they have mastered the sword skills of concentrating chakra on the sword. Almost everyone can launch a sword attack from a distance, which is not easy to deal with. It's not that there are no people who can destroy them, but it is impossible for even the 5-cage to completely destroy this group of samurai without making any noise and hiding from the many digital sensing ninjas on the scene. Uchiha Sasuke definitely can't do it. Could it be Uchiha Madara? It seems not. Uchiha Sasuke can't do this. Chinatsu's voice attracted the attention of everyone present. Her cute little face was filled with a smile that was hard to hide. The chakra of those warriors is still there. They are not dead. It seems that they are under illusion, hypnotizing everyone in an instant. The illusion of Sharingan can't do this. Even the Manjaki Sharingan. As soon as these words came out, everyone was stunned. 4 words emerged in their minds: Phantom God Chiya. Damn it. Meditarumi slapped the table, and with a leap, rushed into the hole in the wall broken by the breakage. King, Shiro, come with me to settle accounts with that bastard. Yeah. It seems that the Mizukage has a deep grudge against that guy. That Sachikage slowly left the chair, and floated in the air. Akagi, let's go and take a look. But don't you have a backache, old man? Akagi said hesitantly. That Sachikage looked sideways, half of his face covered by shadows. It is rumored that the reason why the Reikage was so anxious this time, and even convened the 5-cage talks at all costs, was not only because his younger brother, the 8-Tails Jinchuriki, was captured, but also because he was defeated by the young man named Fujiwara Chiya in the Akatsuki organization. The guy that Kurotsuchi hated so much, and was recognized as the eldest brother by Deidara. Akatsuki was shocked. Except for that kid, no one has such a strong illusion. Being able to defeat the mischievous boy Reikage is not something that a samurai can deal with. Kurotsuchi is over there. That Sachikage turned his eyes to Tsunade. Hokage, do you want to go over there? I'll go. Tsunade stood up. Her main purpose this time was to find Chiya. On the 5th floor of the building, Sasuke had already fought with the samurai. The Chidori blade, which was endowed with lightning attribute chakra, faced the besieged samurai, and with the assistance of the Sharingan's insight, it was like cutting melons and vegetables. The sword energy emitted by the samurai from a distance was resisted by the cursed JGO. As for Sujetsu, he liquefied his body and hid in the cracks of the building, responsible for finding the Hokage, until the arrival of the Reikage trio. Little brat. Today I will let you experience the fear of anger. The Reikage tore off his white cloak, revealing a hideous scar on his back. The battle between the 3 and Sasuke was not much different from the original. The 2 pillars, who were red-eyed with killing, lost their composure, and rushed towards the Reikage with Chidori blade in hand. However, he was repelled by the Reikage's guard Deru's water-style water array wall, and lightning-style gratitude wave combination ninjutsu. Then Z cast the illusion of lightning light column to attract the attention of the 2 pillars and JGO. The Reikage and Deru took this opportunity to instantly move in front of and behind the 2 pillars, swinging their armored elbows and machetes. Sujetsu could no longer hide, and the Reikage's armor and Deru's machete were barely taken by him and JGO respectively. Clang! The ground collapsed, and the beheading sword that was previously cut by Kyuubi split into 2. The 3 members of the Hawk Squad retreated and distanced themselves from the Reikage and Daru. Sasuke, our mission has been completed. Let's retreat quickly. This Reikage is as strong as the 8-Tails Jinchuriki. Sujetsu tightened his grip on the sword and said depressedly, and it has the lightning attribute that I hate the most. Sasuke did not answer, but stared at the opposite Raikage. The two sides fought again. JGO ran away and entered the second state of the curse seal, but was knocked back to his original form by the Raikage's ninjutsu heavy burst flow. Z was hit by Sasuke's illusion. Sujetsu was beaten back by Deru. The two sides had a win or loss. Sasuke faced the Raikage again. Instead of competing with the lightning release, the Chidori blade was useless against the Raikage's lightning release armor, and the Chidori only scratched the Raikage's skin. Instead, he was hit by the Raikage's thunder bomb, and only survived by relying on the first state of Susanoo. Even so, he was still badly injured. The battle was at a stalemate. Just when Sasuke opened the manger key and was about to release Amaterasu, footsteps came from the stairs. The scene was suddenly startled, as if a pin dropped on the ground could be heard. Did you ignore my advice and find a lightning master to compete with you in lightning? You've been beaten up badly, Nejiru. A leisurely voice sounded, and a slender and long-legged black shadow holding a blade walked out of the stairs. Kunai finally arrived. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.